Chapter 602. According to the census records, there were 4,422 people in Ezhou. It had not been checked for several years, so no one knew whether it was more or less. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought they would see new clothes, but when they saw the locals, they found that the clothes they wore were similar to what they had seen along the way. However, it was a little difficult to communicate with them. Most of the people did not speak official language, unlike the two of them, who could speak many languages, including dialects. The locals usually had a lot of contact with the outside world, so they spoke fluent official language and praised Zhang Zhong endlessly. Why do I feel that his words sound like a routine? It should be that when he meets an official, he will say that formalism is not good. Zhang Xiaobao hoped that the other party would really praise his father. They don't know who your father is. It's good to say conventional words and not offend them. When the Red Army crossed the snow mountain, there was a mountain here. When they settled down, they went up to take a look. Is it really so cold? Can it freeze people halfway through their journey? Wang Wan took a few deep breaths and found that it was not uncomfortable. There was no altitude sickness as she had imagined. Zhang Xiaobao also looked around and found that Li Sun, who was standing next to him, seemed to have thought of something and looked excited. He knew that he did not need to worry for the time being. He looked at the mountain in the distance and said, "The Red Army probably didn't have much time to stay and had no strength to walk, so they froze to death on the mountain." The most important thing was that many people didn't know how to survive on the snow mountain and couldn't find such thick clothes. It's good that Huzi and others can climb up the mountain. The two sides talked to each other for a while and began to walk to the government office. Looking at the road under their feet, all the people who came for the first time felt sorry for the locals. It seemed that it should have rained yesterday or the day before. In addition, the water here had been heavy. When they stepped on it and lifted it again, they immediately sank a few kilograms and were covered in mud. The oldest members of Zhang Zhong's and Wang's families, as well as the three old men of Old Man Pai's families, enjoyed the treatment of sliding poles. Zhang Zhong refused to be carried by others. He was used to exercising, so he found a stick to support himself. Along the way, he chatted with the locals. It was not known that he was here to organize the logistics, but he was also preparing to understand the situation of the locals so that he could help improve their lives. The locals had no choice but to cooperate and answer. They did not expect any official to let them live a good life. Generations of people had long been used to such things. Wait. Old Man Pai sat on the pole. Just as the people carrying the boat were about to start moving, he was told to stop. He looked at the big boat docked at the shore and waited. What is Long Zhe looking at? Old Man Yao saw that Old Man Pai had stopped. He also shouted to stop and turned his head to ask. Xiao Bei and the others are still on the boat. Zhang Zhong's and Wang's families will not throw the children away. Let's see how they are going. Old Man Pai pointed at the boat and said curiously. This time, Old Man Chong also stopped. The three old men waited together. Not long after, the children's house was taken down from the boat. However, it was different from what they had seen before. Below the house was not a shelf that was raised off the ground, nor was it the big wheel that they had seen before. It was also not the small wheel that was pushed around in the yard. The house was replaced with a large chassis. The house was in the middle of the chassis. There were 4 people standing on the left and right sides of the house. Below the board that dragged the house was something that the 3 old men did not recognize. It should be a series of iron plates that were connected together horizontally, forming an oval chain that connected the front and back of the house. In the middle of the chain, connected by small iron plates, there was an iron wheel with a groove. The 8 of them found their places and sat down, holding the handle with their hands, just like when they saw people staring at the propeller in the Sanshui River. As the 8 old men moved, the chain rotated and rolled forward section by section. Under such circumstances, the house also moved. When it encountered a small groove, it was not adjusted and directly rolled over. After passing the 3 old men's poles, there was not the slightest obstruction when it went up the slope, even if the ground was muddy. This time, there was no moving balance. It was probably too heavy to be used on the current road. The children were fixed at the window position and curiously looked out. Did you see it? Did you see it? The best things in their house were all used on the children. Who has seen this thing before? This time, if it wasn't for the children needing it, when would we have seen it? Sure enough. Old Man Bai looked at the house and pointed at Old Man Zhang and Old Man Yao as he said this to Old Man Yao when he saw the house being forcefully pushed up the slope that was strenuous for people to walk on. Old Man Chong and Old Man Yao nodded blankly. They saw it. The house of the children only lacked a pair of wings. With wings, it would not be strange if they could fly tomorrow. It seemed that all the technology of the Zhang family and Wang family was reflected in this house. What kind of terrain could this house not adapt to? This was a difficult road to travel. That was called the power system not being able to keep up. Otherwise, with the addition of the moving balance, it would not be an exaggeration to call it a divine car or a divine house. It's just that the speed is a little slow. It would be better if it could be faster. Old Man Chong looked for a while and concluded. That's because it uses the technology of small gears to drive large gears. This way, the people on top can save energy. Look at the chain carefully. There are thorns on it. It should be specially prepared for muddy roads. Follow it. Old Man Pai looked at it and found that it was too far away. He called out, and the people carrying the poles started to walk towards the house. It was not only the three old men who were surprised. It was the first time that the local people had seen a house that could move. Each and every one of them looked back from time to time. The more they looked, the more curious they became. The soldiers in charge of transporting food and weapons were also shocked by the house. At the same time, they wondered if they should make a few more of those things. If they took down the house and put the weapons and food on it, it would not be as tiring as it was now. The three old men chased the poles all the way. Finally, when the house encountered a narrow area and slowly adjusted its direction, they caught up. They also saw Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao beside it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were standing on the slope and directing the direction. The slope was also very muddy, but the two of them did not slide down. After the direction was adjusted, the house continued to move forward. Old Man Pai called out, "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, come here. Grandpa has something to ask." It's too tiring. This chassis is not good. When I go back, I have to study it carefully. When will the tanks and bulldozers not be able to change directions? Cuckoo, I'll give you a task. Make the gasoline engine. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan as he walked towards Old Man Pai. No problem. Just wait. What's the big deal about the gasoline engine? I'll make an aero engine. When the time comes, we'll fly in the sky. Do you want a 3-stage rocket? Launch a sky full of satellites to specifically monitor the ground. Wang Wan replied unhappily. Grandpa Bai, are you not feeling well? Then I'll immediately find a doctor for you. Zhang Xiaobao very wisely stopped talking to Wang Wan. He approached Old Man Pai and observed the three old men's expressions. Old Man Pai's eyes were fixed on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's shoes. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's question, he nodded and said, Yes, I'm not feeling well. My heart hurts. Someone had something good and didn't even tell me. My heart. Isn't it cold? Zhang Xiaobao continued and lifted one of his feet. Short nail shoes. They're good for gripping the ground. You don't have to worry about the ground being slippery. Do you want me to make a pair for you? What's with Xiao Bei's house? Old Man Pai really couldn't guess how much technology Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had yet to reveal. Whether or not they revealed new technology depended on whether it was needed or not. However, they might not need it now, but did it mean that other people didn't need it? Zhang Xiaobao looked at the house in front of him that was stuck at a turning point. He said in annoyance, The technology is not mature yet. Look, it's stuck. When the technology is mature, we'll think of a way to apply it elsewhere. Grandpa Bai, don't worry. My family doesn't keep this a secret. My family only keeps technology that is not directly related to the people's lives and national strength a secret. Zhang Xiaobao indeed didn't have any intention of keeping this chain a secret. Even if he wanted to research it, he probably wouldn't be able to use it in a short period of time. First of all, the iron for this chain was too expensive. It wasn't worth it unless the iron smelting industry caught up. Old Man Pai was satisfied with Zhang Xiaobao's words. His heart wasn't cold anymore. He carefully observed Zhang Xiaobao's shoes. There are nails in front of your shoes. Yes, if there were nails in the back, it would be tiring. It's very convenient for hiking. When we settle down, I'll give you a pair for you to play with. Zhang Zhong didn't care about the team at home. Naturally, there were people from the inner courtyard looking after them. He asked about the local grain harvest, what they lacked in daily life, and health problems. Every time a local answered, Zhang Zhong would remember it in his heart. When they settled down, he would let his son and daughter-in-law think of a way to solve it. He was very clear that he didn't have the ability. He knew it by listening to the locals' answers. Every year, they would plant some millets in the relatively flat areas at the foot of the mountain and plant vegetables on the hillside. When the year was good, they would have a harvest. Some of it would be left for themselves to eat, and some of it would be carried out to trade for salt. Their clothes were made of hemp that they planted. If the year was bad, it would be washed away by heavy rain for a few days. They didn't raise chickens, ducks, or pigs at home. They would go to the mountains to hunt. When they returned, the meat would be eaten. The skin would be made into clothes, or similarly, they would be taken down the mountain to trade for daily necessities. Other things were fine, but the road was too difficult to travel. There weren't that many boats. In the whole area, there were only 3 boats that could go down and come back. Some people relied on the water to fish, so they didn't dare to go down. If they were sick, they would first endure it or find some herbs to eat in the mountains. Very few people went down to the mountains to find a doctor. They didn't have the money, and it was too late. They didn't have the money, and they didn't buy anything. They just traded. If their family was in a better situation, they would have more food and fur. It would be easier for them to marry off their daughters and get a wife. All these things made Zhang Zhong feel very helpless, especially when the locals didn't spend money and only traded. He felt that he couldn't change this. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't put their minds on the construction of Wingzhou at all. After the war, they would be transferred to other places. In the process of arranging logistics, they wouldn't have time to think about the people's lives. Moreover, the situation here couldn't be solved in a short time. It was unlike Lu Zhou, who had lost everything and had to be rebuilt. It was also unlike Xu Zhou, which had a good foundation. The transportation here wasn't convenient, and the things produced here weren't valuable. This was especially so when it came to the thoughts of the local people. Were they really willing to go down the mountain and interact more with the people outside? If they liked and were used to the current life, could they force them to accept another way of life? The road went by while Zhang Zhong was thinking about doing practical things for the people, and Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about how to arrange logistics. Fortunately, the provincial government office of Wingzhou was not too far away from the disembarkation point. Perhaps the officials in the past had also considered the problem of travel. The prefecture city of Wingzhou was very small. It was sandwiched between 2 mountains and was surrounded by a small plain terrain. A river flowed not far from the city. The adobe city wall was only 5 feet high. It was too small to call it a city, and it didn't include the plain. It was called an inner city, but such a city wall might not be able to stop the wild beasts with good jumping skills. Standing at a high point, one could see the situation in the city clearly. There were messy houses and trees in the city. No matter how one looked at it, there were no less than 4,000 people living in it. It was good enough that there were 400 to 500 people living in it. There was no moat in the city, let alone a drawbridge. Even the city gate was made of thick wood. It was wide open, just like the fences of ordinary farmers. There were no soldiers guarding the gate. There were not many pedestrians coming in and out. There were 2 groups of naked children, holding small sticks and small bows in their hands. They were chattering noisily. They should be playing war games. When the teams of the Zhang family and the Wang family slowly approached the city gate, the children were the first to react. They stopped what they were doing and looked at the big team with a little fear, a little restraint, and a little curiosity. especially when the team gradually came to the house in front of them. The provincial governor is here. Go back home and tell your family to come out and welcome him. The local people in the team walked quickly to the front of the children and instructed them. The children didn't know who the provincial governor was. They only knew that there was a team that needed everyone to come out and see. They looked at the beautiful house with a little reluctance. They turned around and ran back while shouting. At this time, there was no provincial governor in Wing Prefecture. There was only a Sima and a few minor officials who were sent here. Therefore, Zhang Zhong's appointment was very smooth. There were only 6 yamen runners in the yamen. 2 of them were old and had white hair. Of the remaining 4, 1 was lame and the other 2 were boys who looked less than 15 years old. There was only one who looked good, but he stuttered when he spoke. Zhang Zhong held the rusty seal in his hand and asked the hunchback man next to him, Sima Fang, is this the provincial capital of Wing Prefecture? What should I do with my family? Sima Fang was very grateful to Zhang Zhong for coming. Now, he didn't have to be busy and unpleasantly busy. He didn't know what mistake Governor Zhang had made. Such a big family was actually sent to such a remote place. When he heard Zhang Zhong's question, his whole body trembled and he coughed for a while. After he caught his breath, he replied, Governor Zhang has seen everything in the provincial capital. The locals are divided into villages. Usually, things are solved by the villages themselves. Very few people come to the yamen to do things. Of course, when the yamen has something to do, it can't ask the local people to do it. If we want to build a river dam, we have to go to each village to discuss it. When they are free, we can send a few people to help. Half of your family is taken care of. We can tear down the wall on the west side and build a house for you. After the house is repaired, we can build another wall further away. I see that there are many people in your family. I think you don't need the people of the villages. Oh, if you want to eat some delicacies, send someone to the villages nearby to tell them. They are kind enough to send some freshly hunted beasts for you to taste. Zhang Zhong was speechless. What did this mean? Being the county magistrate in Sanshui County was 100 times better than being the provincial governor in Wing Prefecture. At least, he could see the yamen runners and riders in Sanshui County at any time. Now, the 6 of them were ready to retire. After thinking carefully about the position of the provincial governor in Wing Prefecture, Zhang Zhong patted Sima Fang's shoulder and said, Sima, you have worked hard. Sima Fang was so moved that his eyes turned red. Finally, there was someone who could understand his difficulties. It was not easy. Zhang Zhong sighed with emotion for a while. He still had to do what he had to do. At least the house had to be repaired. Otherwise, where would he live? Fortunately, his family was different from the other officials. He came out with a total of 11 people from the yamen. After giving the order, the people from Zhang family and Wang family started to work. Tents were set up one by one. Groups of people went out. Some were responsible for repairing the road to the river, while others went up the mountain to cut trees. Half of the members of Team 0 went out with crossbows in their hands and disposable shotguns on their waists. They stayed at the surrounding commanding heights and observed back and forth with binoculars. The families of Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao also came to help. Everyone knew that they could not count on others at this time. The people in the village only listened to orders but did not listen. The cooks of the Zhang family also dug holes and set up pots to cook. Everything seemed to be in order. This time, not only the 11 people in the yamen, but also the people who were watching the fun were moved. They did not know what was good manners. They only knew that the new official brought people who were not ordinary. They did not need to be specially instructed. They all went to find their own jobs. They were busy but not disorderly. The people in the village had to wait for others to arrange things for them to do well. This large group of people settled down under their eyes. What was the new official's job? A war general? While the others were busy, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had nothing to do. The people from the 2 families did not need to be instructed. They could quickly take over all the positions in Luoyang. It would be embarrassing if they could not do such a small thing well. Originally, the The two of them had planned to draw a military map of this place. Seeing that there was no place to stay, they decided to wait for a few days. There was no war here. What they needed to do now was to build a good relationship with the locals. Even if they did not plan to stay here for too long, they might be able to use them when organizing logistics in the future. Under the protection of more than 10 guards, the two of them called the 7 children out of the house and prepared to take them to be close to the people. Candy and salt were already prepared. Lu Xian Wei Wei, and Young Man also joined in. Li Sun wanted to join in the fun, but he was arranged to rest immediately so that he could adapt to the weather as soon as possible. There was a doctor beside him. As long as Li Sun showed any signs of discomfort, he would immediately be treated. After arriving at a new place, the children were clearly a little afraid. When they saw their elder brothers and sisters beside them, they regained their usual liveliness. They held hands and ran behind their elder brothers and sisters. When the children who were playing near the city gate saw a group of people come out of the group, including even younger children, their wild nature forgot their fear. They also went up to them and stood very close to them. They curiously sized up the group of people, especially the clothes Zhang Xiaobao and the others were wearing. The children were envious. Even if they were ignorant, they knew that the clothes were expensive. Xiao Bei, I'll leave this difficult task to you. Zhang Xiaobao pulled his sister out and grabbed a handful of candy, indicating that he wanted Xiao Bei to give it to them. Ever since Xiao Bei gave candy to Danan and Xiao Nan, she liked this activity. She often gave things to others in kindergarten, so she was very popular. When she saw the candy that her brother took out, she immediately knew what to do. She put her 2 small hands together, held the candy, and trotted to the group of children who were older than her. As expected, the children were not afraid. Candy, please eat candy. Xiao Bei raised her arms and raised her small face, seriously inviting them. The children were really not afraid of trouble like other children. When they saw this little girl give things to them, even if they didn't understand what she was saying, they knew that the candy in her hands was edible. This was because the other people who hadn't come over yet were eating. The person closest to Xiao Bei took a piece and followed Zhang Xiaobao's example. He peeled off the outer layer and put the inside into his mouth. When he tasted the sweetness, his eyes immediately narrowed. He flattened the candy wrapper in his hand and pinched it carefully. He had a blissful look on his face. The other children also came over to take the candy, 1 for each person. When the candy in Xiao Bei's hand was almost finished, there were only 2 pieces left. No one came over to take it. There were too many people, so Xiao Bei's small hands could only hold a few pieces. Xiao Bei, who gave out the candy, was very happy. When she saw others eating, she also wanted to eat a piece. After hesitating for a while, she suppressed the idea. Her brother and sister didn't allow her to eat too much. She had already eaten 2 pieces on the way here, so she could eat 2 more pieces today. She had to save it for tonight. After giving the candy, Xiao Bei turned around and was about to leave. The child who had eaten the candy earlier pulled her back. When Zhang Xiaobao was ready to help at any time, the child took off a necklace around his neck and put it around Xiao Bei's neck. Only then did he smile at Xiao Bei and let her leave. What is this? Why did you put it around my Xiao Bei's neck? Oh, the rope is full of oil mud. How long has it been since I bathed? This is a tooth? Xiao Bao, look, what kind of animal's tooth is this? When Xiao Bei came back happily, Wang Wan pulled her closer and carefully looked at the thing around Xiao Bei's neck. She complained softly. It should be a wolf's tooth. Maybe that child killed the wolf himself and set a trap to kill it. I don't believe that he can kill the wolf when facing it head-on. He has to wear it even if he wants to. Didn't you see that he was staring at us? If he really took it off, our friendship would be over. After we wash it, Xiao Bei will be our ambassador in the future. If we carry her and others see the thing around her neck, they will be kinder. Send the salt over. A child is half a catty. They will know what to do. Zhang Xiaobao sized up the ornament and called out. The guard beside him brought over a small bag of salt. With Xiao Bei's help, the child was not afraid of the adults. He curiously took the small bag of salt and opened it to take a look. After pinching out some of the salt and tasting it, his face revealed an expression that was even more pleasantly surprised than when he ate the candy earlier. People who lived by the sea would not feel anything even if they were given half a ton of salt, let alone half a caddy. This was especially true in areas that used sun-dried salt, where there was no shortage of salt. However, it was different for the people here. There was well salt in Chengdu, but the good well salt was not for the local people to eat. It was sold for money. Compared to the sea salt, the taste of the well salt was different. It was much better than the sea salt, and the price was also higher. There were no salt wells in Yizhou, so where could they get so much salt to eat? The children tasted the salt and found that it tasted much better than before. Some smart ones immediately knew that if they wanted to exchange fur for this small bag of salt, they would have to take out at least 5 pieces of good sheepskin. The salt they exchanged could not compare to the salt in their hands. The salt in their hands was white and fine, and there was no bitter taste in their mouths. They did not know where they found it. The children were not like the adults. They knew that some things could not be accepted. Even if they knew that they could not take other people's things for free, they could not bear to return them with the salt bag. At most, they could go home and find other things to exchange for it. The smart children said a few words to the others, held the salt bag tightly to their chests, and ran home. The other children did not dare to stay outside for too long. They were afraid that the salt in their hands would be gone, so they all ran home. Looking at their leaving figures, Zhang Xiaobao was relieved. This saves a lot of trouble. In the future, when we let them do things and exchange supplies, we don't have to worry about them being so vigilant. We have completed the first step of the long march. Yes, during the long march in Tibet, in order to be able to have a good relationship with the local people, our army also thought of many ways. It was not easy. Should we invite the local people to have a meal together later? Wang Wan took off the necklace on Xiaobei's neck. It was too dirty. She had to wash it a few more times when she went back. This meal is not necessary. They may not be able to eat it. Think of a way to let them work. It will be easy to have a contact and an excuse to invite them to eat. Zhang Xiaobao was really unwilling to have this kind of relationship with ethnic minorities. The main reason was that he was not clear about their beliefs and rules. Good intentions could also lead to bad things. For example, if you invited a prostitute to eat pork, no matter how good you did it, it would not do. That was looking for trouble. If only there was someone to introduce the local customs first. When Zhang Xiaobao returned to the group, Old Man Pai and the other two put down their clairvoyance and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with gratification. They said, "Not bad, well done. What is this called again?" "This is called children's diplomacy. Other people have madam diplomacy, we have children's diplomacy. Children are always the unchanging theme of life. They represent the continuation of ideas and hope." Zhang Xiaobao was in a good mood and explained. He even used a new term. "Then what's the matter with madam's diplomacy?" Old Man Bai asked shamelessly. "It is to send the daughter-in-law out to chat with other people's daughter-in-law. The madams of aristocratic families all have this ability. If they are tired and don't want to eat, they can just drink some soup later." Zhang Xiaobao had been thinking about how to distribute the food all along the way. In addition to the muddy road, he was really tired. Chapter 603. Old Man Pai really wanted to stop Zhang Xiaobao, who was preparing to rest, to ask about the logistics. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao was tired, he felt that the expert should be tired too. He suppressed his anxiety and said, "After dinner, let the doctor give you a massage. You can sit on the pole together." "Okay, thank you, Grandpa Bai. I heard that there are many herbs here, and some animals can also be used as medicine. If you want to help the local people, you can set up a shop here to buy herbs. You can exchange them with salt and cloth. It's best to take the opportunity to find a few people who are willing to teach here and enlighten the people. Now we have to discuss things with others. How can we still be the land and people of the Tang Empire?" The more Zhang Xiaobao thought about it, the more sullen he felt. He did not blame the local people, but the officials who used to work here. They did not ask for relief supplies from the imperial court when there was a disaster, and they even had to pay tribute every year. They only wanted to get but were not prepared to pay. Now, the people were also not willing to pay. If this was a place where his father was an official, he only needed to call for help when he encountered difficulties, and the people would immediately respond to the call. For example, the donation in Wangjiang was like this. In Yizhou, no one would care about you even if you shouted until your voice was hoarse. You left a mess behind, and it was under the circumstances that there was no time to manage it. Old Man Pai also knew the situation here. There were not many people, and if they did not help, it would not be good in the long run. The Zhang family had the ability to manage. If they gave them 2 years, they would be able to make the local people better. However, the Zhang family came here to organize the logistics, not to manage the local area. There were more important tasks waiting for the Zhang family to do. Wouldn't it be a waste to leave them in a province with a population of 4,000? Xiao Bao's suggestion was good, but who would be willing to come? Thinking of this, he asked, Xiao Bao, do you think others are willing to come here to teach the people? Yes, there are. Not only that, there are many. The current court officials are allowed to have children according to their ranks. The number of children they have is also different. There are many children in aristocratic families who don't have the ability to take over the position. They can't all be illiterate, right? They couldn't be overshadowed by officials, and they didn't have a position in the clan. If they were told to come here, they would be given an official position, and they would fight to get it. Another benefit was that no matter what their position was in the clan would give them some support for the sake of face. Find 100 descendants of aristocratic families. When they see that the lives of the people here are not good, they will naturally think of a way. After 2 or 3 years of training, the hedonistic descendants will also mature. I believe that most of them will understand what is called responsibility. If such people are given an official position, there is no need to worry that they will not do well. Zhang Xiaobao felt that he didn't have the time to take care of the people in Yizhou, so he found someone to take care of them. This place was so poor that no one could have any bad intentions. Once the descendants of aristocratic families came here for an official position, it was impossible for them not to develop. Old Man Pai listened to Zhang Xiaobao's words and couldn't help but nod. He knew that Xiao Bao didn't have anyone to teach him this method. Xiao Bao just thought of it casually. He seemed to have more insight than before. Sigh. It would be great if all the descendants of aristocratic families could be like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They would be sensible and sensible. Go and rest. Let this old man think about it and see if this matter can be done. Old Man Pai sighed with emotion and turned to find Old Man Yao to discuss this matter. This was not a small matter and it required the emperor's approval. It was not easy to give an official position. Of course, it depended on the person. If Xiao Bao wanted an official position now, there was no need for Zhang Zhong to do it. The imperial court would arrange it. After living for so long, he had never seen children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. There was no doubt about the standard of the Zhang family's cooks. The food was not ready yet, but the fragrance was spread out with the wind. Even if the local people didn't help, they were willing to watch the fun. It was impossible to say that they were not tempted by the smell of the food. They wanted to experience how it felt to eat it. They were both cooking meat, but the food they made smelled so good. No one knew what was in it. Also, the chicken soup was more delicious than the soup made by the mountain pheasant. When it was time to eat, other than the protection team who changed shifts, everyone else picked up their utensils and stood in line to wait. Ever since they ate with the Zhang family and the Wang family, the others stopped cooking. They could not swallow the food they made and just waited for the ready-made food. It had nothing to do with laziness. After all, the food made by the Zhang family and the Wang family was delicious. Everyone had a good relationship with each other. The only thing they had to worry about was what if they could not eat it in the future. Zhang Xiaobao said that he would drink soup, and he really only drank a little soup. He asked someone to boil it with the wild herbs that could be found here. After drinking it quickly, he and Wang Wan went to find a place to rest. Feng Sima and the others ate bowl after bowl. No one knew what they were thinking. They drank tea while eating. Perhaps they thought that it could help them digest faster and eat more. Governor Zhang, is this your family's cook? Delicious, really delicious. Fong Sima really could not eat anymore. Looking at the food in front of him competing with him, he drank the seafood soup slowly and leaned on the stool as he asked Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong ate slowly and did not have an appetite. One reason was that the situation in the area was not very optimistic. Another reason was that he had not eaten the food cooked by his son and daughter-in-law for several days. To be honest, the food cooked by the chef was really good. However, no matter how he ate, he felt that it was not as good as the food cooked by his son and daughter-in-law. Even if his son and daughter-in-law did not tell him in advance when they were cooking, as long as he ate, he could taste it, especially when it came to the combination of seasonings. His son only needed to smell it to know how much seasonings should be put in during this period of time. It was called accurate. He did not know how to practice. Zhang Zhong did not know that his son used to sell 13 spices. It would be strange if he could not smell the richness and age of each seasonings. Hearing Fong Sima's praise, he said a little absent-mindedly, "It's not bad. It can be eaten. Every chef is proficient in different things. This seafood soup was not made by the best chef. He went to stew. When there is a chance, I will let you taste the real delicacy. My son Xiao Bao and daughter-in-law Cuckoo made it." Zhang Zhong was speaking the truth. However, in Fong Sima's ears, it was not the case. Governor Zhang's son and daughter-in-law can cook? I am convinced. If my son can cook, I will also feel that it is the most delicious food in the world. Governor Zhang, is the chef you brought an imperial chef? What is an imperial chef? Usually, they have to use the seasonings specially sent to the palace by my family. Many dishes have to be written and sent to them for them to learn. They are all like ghosts chasing after you, regardless of whether you are busy or not. When the emperor is tired of a certain dish, he will rush to send a new dish. If such an imperial chef really came to my family, I would not want him. It was also the truth, but Fong Sima felt awkward when he heard it. He thought in his heart, if you are so good, you can send recipes to the emperor. Why would you be sent to Ezhou? You are too arrogant. Fong Sima did not dare to offend him on the surface. He humbly asked for advice, then why is the chef in your family so good? If the chef in the restaurant is not good, won't he die of loss? The chain restaurant between the clouds and the water and between the sea and the clouds is owned by my family. There is also the Savant's restaurant in the capital. Zhang Zhong put down his chopsticks and signaled the person beside him to bring a bowl of wild vegetable soup that his son had just drunk. Ah! Between the clouds and the water is owned by your family? Then you are Zhang Zhong, aren't you? Fong Sima was surprised. After saying this, he remembered that the other party was called Zhang Zhong and told him when he came. Smiling embarrassedly, Fong Sima changed his previous attitude and became even more respectful. He sat up straight and didn't dare to speak as loudly as before. Instead, he said softly, "Lord Zhang, I didn't know that you were coming. Sorry for the disrespect. If I had known that you were Zhang Zhong of Sanshui County, I would have eaten slower and tasted more. Maybe I could eat more." While Zhang Zhong was wondering if he had such a big reputation, Fong Sima continued, "To be honest, my son is studying at Jianjia Academy in Sanshui County. When he went there, he was only given money for traveling expenses. He left the year before last. I don't know what to do when he comes to the capital. But 2 months before you came, my son sent a letter saying that he is now rich and has been praised by the teacher. He is going to take the exam this year and will definitely come back with honors. He said that the job was arranged by the Zhang family and that he was going to teach while learning. He taught all the children of the Zhang family and the Wang family. In the letter, he said that the children of the Zhang family and the Wang family were excellent. When they started teaching, they were always asked questions. They had no choice but to work hard so that they could teach others. Just like the couplet in the Zhuangzi school of the Zhang family and the Wang family, it said, "Before educating others, educate yourself. Read and read the heart." In the letter, he also wrote many things between the clouds and the water, which made people yearn for it. When they were worried that they would not have the chance to see it, Lord Zhang, you came. But I don't understand, Lord Zhang, why are you here? Feng Sima was puzzled. Why did such an official come to Yizhou? Did he offend someone he could not afford to offend? Zhang Zhong, on the other hand, did not care at all. He smiled and said, being an official anywhere is the same. As long as I can let the common people live a good life, I will also feel at ease. The 3 dynasties have a difficult man as a general, and the 4 seas are at peace. One day, when the common people of my dynasty all live a good life, I will retire and return to my hometown. I will be a rich man, and let Xiaobao and Wan have 2 more children, to be happy at my knees. Suwang is a good place, but I don't want to be an official. I will go wherever it is difficult and let the people live a good life. Yizhou is poor, so I am happy to come here. Zhang Zhong, who did not know about this mission, really wanted to be a good local official. Hearing Zhang Zhong's words, Feng Sima stood up and bowed respectfully. He said, Your Excellency has a good temperament. I admire you. When you first came here, I didn't think much about this place. Now that I know you are here, I am relieved. If you have any orders in the future, I will rush to the front and let the people of Yizhou live a good life. Feng Sima was not flattering. If it was someone else, he would not dare to be so bold. But he knew Zhang Zhong. In the letter, his son had written about Zhang Zhong in detail. Every time he went to a place, no matter how the place was like, he would definitely make the local people rich. It was too easy for such a person to govern Yizhou, which had a population of 4,000. Zhang Zhong also stood up. With Feng Sima's words, I will make Yizhou a prosperous place in 2 years. Just as the 2 of them were appreciating each other, Old Man Bai, who was not too far away, had a worried expression on his face. He said to Old Man Zhang and Old Man Yao, It seems that Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, and the 2 masters of the Zhang family really did not tell others about this matter. Zhang Zhong is still in the mood to govern this place. We have to talk to him. Otherwise, it will be a waste of time. Let's see how the imperial court will discuss this matter. If they agree to let the sons of aristocratic families come here, there will be no need for Zhang Zhong. It's time to talk to him. At the same time, we have to ask Xiao Bao and Cuckoo what the arrangement is. If we told them earlier, they should have made preparations in advance. Why can't they see it when they arrive? Can't they think of a way? Old Man Yao was also anxious. He was not worried about whether Yizhou could be governed well. If there was really nothing else, he would let Zhang Zhong manage it well. With the ability of a master, it was too easy. The problem was that he could not do it now. Along the way, the Zhang family did not seem to have made any preparations at all. Old Man Chong swallowed half a steamed bun and said, Let's wait and see. Maybe they are making arrangements. Let's not disturb them. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao had to listen to Old Man Chong and continue to wait. If the Zhang family could not do it, then others could not. Everyone had their own thoughts. When the meal was almost finished, a lot of people suddenly appeared in the city. It was estimated that there were more than 100 of them. They walked straight towards them. Send someone to ask. Could it be that they want to rebel? Feng Sima said nervously. Before anyone went over, the people of the Zhang family had already contacted them. They came back and reported, Master, they said that they want to help and thank you. Chapter 604. The Zhang family, Wang family, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's families, as well as a small portion of the soldiers who were transporting the provisions and weapons, were already quite a lot of people. If they were to work, it wouldn't be much faster to have 100 or so unfamiliar people. However, Zhang Zhong didn't refuse. It didn't matter how many people came to help. What was important was whether they came or not. He had never done anything good for the local people, and his subordinates were also busy, so it could only be done by his son and daughter-in-law. This was called a breakthrough. Not to mention that the 100 or so people could do some work, even if they were a hindrance. Zhang Zhong didn't want to reward them. He saw this as an opportunity. When the meal was almost finished, Zhang Zhong stopped and asked people to ask if the people had eaten. If they hadn't, he had to make some fast food for them to eat. They couldn't work on an empty stomach. The result of the inquiry was that they had all eaten. They also found out why they came to help. It was because of the dozen or so kilograms of salt. Among the people who came to work, some of them directly benefited, while others were called over by them. All the adults had the same idea, and that was to judge the adults based on the children. If a child wore clothes, the clothes weren't afraid of being old or patched. What they looked at was whether the clothes were clean. If the child was dirty, no one would criticize the child. They could only say that the family's adults were lazy. When the people who received the salt found out that the salt was sent by the children of the new official, they thought that it was definitely because the family's adults were good at disciplining them. They told their neighbors, and everyone came to take a look and help out. In order to get closer to the people, Zhang Zhong personally met with the people. The people here were different from other places. If they met a provincial governor, they would be very afraid. The local people didn't care what rank the governor was. They just came to see how the new official was like. The attitude of the people made Zhang Zhong put away his long-winded ideas. He casually found a job and let the people do it. At the same time, he asked people to prepare dinner. Zhang Zhong understood that the so-called meal was 2 meals or 1 meal a day. Very few people could eat 3 meals a day. That was too extravagant. Not to mention this poor place, even the people of the capital couldn't find many people who could eat 3 meals a day. Compared to his own family, who had at least 3 meals a day, and those who worked had 4 meals, the standard of living was far worse. Food was the most important thing to the people. Whether it was deliberately bribing or sincerely helping, dinner had to be prepared well. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan slept for 3.5 hours before they woke up comfortably. The first thing they did was to ask if anyone was feeling unwell. The people working were not bad, but they were more tired than before. Today's weather wasn't too good. It was gray and overcast, and the local area was humid. The temperature difference was relatively large, and the body's heat loss was correspondingly faster. It made people feel uneasy. The local people were used to it, so nothing much happened. The adults were not energetic, and the little ones were more sleepy than usual. One by one, they drilled into the house and slept on the carpet in the hall of the house. Perhaps it would be warmer this way. The two people looked at the window. Even if the 7 little ones were covered with blankets, they were still squeezing together. This was not deliberately done by them. When it was cold in their sleep, they would automatically find a warm place. The little ones sleeping on the 2 sides frowned at the same time. They seemed to be very uncomfortable. It's cold. The temperature difference is too big. When we were eating at noon, we felt stuffy. These 3 hours have been cold. Wang Wan reached in and touched the forehead of the little ones. They didn't have a fever. She was relieved and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "The sun is blocked by the mountain, and the humidity is heavy. The ventilation of the house can't be sealed. The body's heat is lost. It would be strange if it wasn't cold. Look, the temperature inside is only 16 degrees. Someone, put a few hot water bags in." Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the sky and ordered very discontentedly. Didn't he emphasize that the temperature in the house should be kept between 23 and 27 degrees? What were these people doing? The maidservant was wronged and explained in a low voice, "Little master, it's very humid here. It will be even more humid if you put a hot water bag in. The blanket has been changed twice. Every time it is changed, it will become humid after a while. Still, let Xiaobei and the others warm first. We'll think of other ways." Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to touch the blanket. He could feel how humid his clothes were. As a few hot water bags were put in, the temperature rose. The expressions of the little ones changed. The eyebrows of the little ones on both sides gradually relaxed. Perhaps it was because they had a happy dream, and there was a smile on their faces. Wang Wan looked at the house, opened the compartment, and said, "In a while, send someone to take down the complete set of things from the ship. In order to reduce the weight, take out the lime inside. Add some good charcoal and use it as a drying agent. It's okay if it's bitter for the adults, but definitely not for the children. Xiao Bao, think about it. What can be recycled and dried? Yes, there is a material that can absorb the moisture in the air. When it absorbs to saturation, the water inside will flow down to the groove below due to the influence of gravity. This cycle repeats, but I don't know what material it is. There's no other way. For a period of time here, we can only use charcoal and lime to dry it. Zhang Xiaobao said helplessly. He knew little when it was time to use it. In the past, he really did come into contact with this thing. He estimated that it wouldn't be able to cheat a lot of money, so he didn't further study it. Otherwise, he could use it now. While the two of them were worried about their younger brother and sister, Old Man Pai and the other two were also worried about the logistics. In a few days, they would send troops to Tubo to attack the Jinshui, but they still couldn't see the Zhang family's actions. The food they brought this time was only enough to feed 3,000 people for half a month. However, they didn't send 1,000 soldiers, but 15,000. For a surprise attack, the transported food, together with a portion of the local warehouse, would be made into dry rations for 10 days and brought with them to the soldiers. After 10 days, it would depend on the Zhang family's ability. In order to keep it a secret, they didn't announce it in advance. If they collected the food now, the local food price would definitely skyrocket. In a little more than a month, it would be the autumn harvest. This was the season when people had the least amount of food. Wouldn't grain merchants take the opportunity to find all kinds of reasons to increase the price? Methods of forceful competition couldn't be used unless absolutely necessary. It would cause a huge impact on the economy. While the three old men sat around the charcoal stove and worried about making tea, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also rushed over to ask if they were feeling unwell. Children needed to be taken care of, and so did the elderly. However, without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to ask, Old Man Pai spoke first. Xiaobao, is the food prepared? I estimate that we will send troops in 3 days. This time, not only will we attack a city, we will also destroy a large amount of Tubo's farmland. This will make it impossible for them to harvest the autumn harvest and delay their possible counterattack. Grandpa Bai, don't worry. We will send troops in 3 days. The food will definitely not be a hindrance. Even if you say that the troops have already left, the food will still be able to keep up. If no one investigates, even the arrows will be in place. Grandpa Bai, who will be the general leading the troops this time? Zhang Xiaobao replied with certainty. He was also thinking about which famous general would be going. As for the food, that wasn't a problem. If they couldn't even do this, how could they be called logistics? Gua Tuesday. He will be leading the troops this time. Old Man Yao said a name. Gua Tu? Someone from the Three Kingdoms era? In Zhang Xiaobao's memory, there didn't seem to be such a famous general in the Tang Dynasty. What Three Kingdoms era? To be able to live until now, wouldn't he be an immortal? We will send troops in 3 days. Whether it succeeds or not will depend on your family's performance. If it succeeds, not only will your father go to Luoyang, he can even go to Yaozhou to be a provincial governor. Old Man Pai could only choose to believe in the experts of the Zhang family. Everything depended on the situation in 3 days. Zhang Xiaobao also knew that matters of life and death were not child's play, so he said seriously, Grandpa Bai, don't worry. Wherever the troops go, the logistics will be sent there. If one grain is missing, the conditions previously mentioned will no longer count. My father won't be an official anymore. If it succeeds, all the men in your family will have official positions, and the women will have noble titles. Your father can choose any place he wants the next time. Even if you want to be an official now, you will be given a noble title. Old Man Pai also said his promise. In fact, it was the promise of the imperial court or the emperor. There was no other choice. If it were any other official, there wouldn't be so many things. Only the Zhang family was special. Chapter 605. Old Man Pai and the others said that they would set off in 3 days, but they only waited for 2.5 days before they arrived. They seemed to have chosen the most difficult road in Yizhou. General Gua Tu waited by the river and asked Zhang Zhong to go out. Zhang Zhong was still discussing with Feng Sima how to make the local people live a better life when he was informed to receive the imperial edict. The person who announced the imperial edict was Old Man Yao. He didn't put on any airs and didn't need to set up an incense table. He handed the imperial edict to Zhang Zhong and said, "Yongqing, this is the imperial edict. Take a look. Go out and meet General Gua. Then you can come back and continue your work. If you need to transfer Chong Pingsong, you can go to Yizhou Prefecture to get it. Remember to write it into a memorial and send it to the capital." The meaning in his words was very clear. That was, Zhang Zhong, you should still be the provincial governor in Wing Prefecture. Don't you need to worry about the logistics? Don't you want to take care of the local people's lives? If you don't have anything, go to Yizhou to get it. You can decide how much to take. Just let me know. Hearing Old Man Yao's words, Zhang Zhong opened the imperial edict in confusion. The more he read, the more shocked he was. Didn't they say that Yizhou was not easy to manage and that's why he was transferred here? Why was there a war in the blink of an eye? Logistics? Grain officer? Without any preparation, where would the grain come from? Old Man Yao and the others saw Zhang Zhong's expression and were very satisfied. It meant that the two masters of the Zhang family didn't tell Zhang Zhong. Even Xiao Bao and Cuckoo didn't tell. They did a good job of keeping secrets. It was good that father and son could do this. They didn't know that Zhang Xiaobao didn't tell his family because he didn't want them to worry. Besides, it was useless even if he told them. The responsibility fell on him and Wang Wan. There was no need to worry. After being excited for a while, Zhang Zhong rolled up the imperial edict and calmed down. He nodded and said, "Zhang Zhong accepts the imperial edict. I'll go to see General Gua now." After that, Zhang Zhong turned back to change his clothes. In fact, he just wanted to ask his son and daughter-in-law what was going on. War was not child's play. If something were to happen, they would not be able to bear the consequences. Zhang Zhong's reaction made the three old men even more convinced that the two masters of the Zhang family were Zhang Zhong's backbone. Otherwise, how could he be so calm? When Zhang Zhong found his son and daughter-in-law, the two of them had just finished writing a plan. Wang Wan had written about the grain deposit, and Zhang Xiaobao had written about the local governance. "Xiaobao, do you know about this imperial edict?" Zhang Zhong was very angry. As soon as he entered and saw the two people, he asked Zhang Xiaobao with a sullen face, "Xiaobao, do you know about this imperial edict?" "I know, but Grandpa Bai didn't allow me to say it. Besides, it's useless even if I did. Do you think I can just not come just because I want to?" "Father, you don't have to worry about this. It's all been arranged. I have a plan for economic development here. Take a look. Me and Juan won't be able to be with our family for a while. We have to go to the front. Father, you just have to do as I say. Don't worry about anything happening." The moment Zhang Xiaobao saw the imperial edict, he knew that it was time to leave. He and Wang Wan had to go. Otherwise, in the situation where there was no communication, the situation on the battlefield was unpredictable. It was easy for something to go wrong. He handed the plan to his father. With a bang, Zhang Zhong angrily slapped the plan to the ground. He pointed at Zhang Xiaobao and said, You didn't even discuss such an important matter with us. You want to anger me to death? Do you think it's enough to spend money on war? Is it as easy as governing? You let me. You sigh." As Zhang Zhong spoke, he suddenly sighed. He realized that the result was the same whether his son and daughter-in-law told him or not. The emperor asked them to come here to do something. How could they not come? Even if the two families knew about it in advance, what could they do? In the end, the responsibility fell on his son and daughter-in-law. As a result, his son picked up the plan. Zhang Zhong frowned and asked, "My son, you just stay in Yingzhou and command. Can't you not go? Swords and spears have no eyes." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said, "Father, how can I command if I don't go?" This time, only 15,000 soldiers will be dispatched. They are divided into 15 reinforced battalions. 5 battalions will be dispatched from Jiannan Circuit, and the other 10 battalions will be dispatched from Shannon West Circuit. There are too few people. It must be a sudden attack. If they win, everything will be fine. If they lose, if there is even a little bit of logistical problem, they will have to bear the responsibility. Not to mention that the emperor wants his subjects to die. Even as a member of the Tang Empire, we have to fight. The people of Wangjiang are still waiting for us. This is a matter of the people's hearts and dignity. If you don't fight back after being bullied, they will bully you next time. Besides, Cuckoo and I are only in charge of logistics. We won't go to the front to fight, nor will we leave the border. The furthest we can go is to the border to find a safe place to hide. Who will target 2 children? When Zhang Xiaobao said this, he was very grateful for this era. Not to mention the martial arts, even the literati respected martial arts. Living in this era was much more comfortable. There was no such thing as being bullied and not daring to fight back. If you kill one of my people, I will slaughter your village. Otherwise, how could Korea and Japan be my subjects? Zhang Zhong was also excited by his son's words. He usually practiced swordsmanship and archery. When he thought that his son and daughter-in-law would not rush to the front, he was relieved. My son, since this is the case, then go. Remember, be very careful. Bring the members of the Zero team. I will also train the other members of the Seedling Protection team. If there is a shortage of people, you can make up for it. Remember to bring more people from the inner yard. I will wait for you to avenge the people of Wangjiang. Zhang Zhong suppressed the reluctance in his heart and patted his son's shoulder. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of excitement. It was just like when he had lost someone he could rely on to find his own path. He was not afraid, but filled with confidence and anticipation for the future. Zhang Zhong changed his clothes and brought his son and daughter-in-law to meet Guatu by the river. The team was not small. There were 56 members of the Seedling Protection team, 30 people from the inner yard, 200 guards borrowed from Li Sun, and other idlers. It took them more than 2 hours to meet General Gua. Tuesday Zhang Zhong was nominally the person in charge of this matter. Naturally, he was the one to talk to Gua. Tuesday Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan accompanied him. Guatu looked to be in his 40s. His beard was not short, from his cheeks to his ears. He did not look like a scholarly general in Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's imagination. He spoke straightforwardly and did not show any respect to Zhang Zhong. It sounded like he was constantly questioning Zhang Zhong, asking if he had prepared the provisions. Zhang Zhong did not get angry with the other party. He answered briefly, and the meeting was over. Guatu arrogantly led the team and left hurriedly. The team began to return, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stayed behind with a group of people. They looked at the departing team, called out to them, and followed behind. I don't understand. Why did they send people from the Shannon West Circuit instead of those from the Jiannan West Circuit? They might not be familiar with the climate here. Zhang Xiaobao muttered as he rode on the mule. They have too much money to burn, so they can train the soldiers. It's naturally easier for the border troops here, but it's also impossible for the soldiers in other places not to train. I reckon that Li Longji is planning to go big this time. Speaking of which, we are also responsible for this. Who asked us to govern this place so well, especially when we gave away so many technologies for the people's livelihood? If it weren't for those technologies, Li Longji would still be worrying about the lives of the people. Now, he can relax. Any person in power will have thoughts of expansion when they know that the economy can develop. Wang Wan was also riding on a mule. She was biting on an unripe apple in her hand. It was bitter and astringent, but she still enjoyed eating it. She also answered Zhang Xiaobao's questions while she was at it. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. That's about right. Who cares what he thinks? We'll just live our lives. Luckily, I made preparations in advance. There are indeed many horses. Is the terrain suitable for riding horses? I don't know what they're thinking, but the distance from here to Jinchuan City in Jinshui is about 150 to 160 kilometers, right? Let's see how they're going to get there in 10 days. From the map, there's a small mountain there. It's the most difficult snow mountain to climb back then. Do you think they can just go around it? It'll be fine when they get to Jinchuan. There's a big river there and a flat plain. It's suitable for cavalry to attack. If it were me, I would let the light infantry go first. The cavalry at the back would be responsible for transporting the armor. The infantry's mission is to kill every village they see. Even if they don't kill, they have to lock them up. Once the cavalry went around the mountain and caught up with the infantry in front, the cavalry would split up. One group would go north and then east across the Ruo River to harass the reinforcements that might appear in the northwest. The other group would go down, ignoring the surrounding villages, and force their way into Danba City to feign an attack. A group of infantry would also follow behind the Danba cavalry to create momentum. Each person would raise a stove and change the group flag to the formation flag, driving the people to Jinchuan City. The rest of the infantry would split into a battalion to form a formation in the north and south. The main force would move slightly north to the shore of the Ruo River. They would set up camp, secretly cut firewood, and sail day and night, diagonally facing Jinchuan City. The cavalry at the front would go around the city to block the reinforcements coming from the west. They would lead the people into the city, encircle but not attack, wasting the provisions of Jinchuan. They would wait for the enemy to move troops from all sides to encircle and suppress them. In the northwest, the light cavalry would go south and point their swords at Jinchuan. When they crossed the river at Jinchuan, they would retreat. The cavalry in the west would take a detour and cross the river together with them. Feigning an attack on Danba, the infantry would cross the river and flee to the west. They would try to lure Danba to send troops to form an encirclement with the soldiers of Jinchuan City and the enemy. At that time, the battalion that drove the people away would quickly regroup and retreat to the border. The cavalry and the camping troops would go down the Ruo River and attack Danba. After that, they would retreat from Chengdu and place the troops on the west side of Danba. They would either succeed in converging with the troops attacking Danba, or Wang Wan couldn't go to the front line to command. She could only talk about strategy on paper. As she talked, she didn't say anything in the end. That meant that the other troops had given up. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know about this kind of military matters. When he heard Wang Wan's words, he sighed and said, "It's really based on Jun Mo's words. A general's success is built on the bones of thousands of people. I don't know about war, but according to what you said, it's better to equip the cavalry that feigned an attack on Danba with 2 or 3 horses. When the infantrymen converged, the horses would be distributed to the infantrymen. After that, the infantrymen would finish luring the enemy and attack Danba. A small number of them would row boats to the south and wait for a while. Those who have horses would use the speed to go around the river and cross the river to the south. Maybe a few more of them would come back. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's not like I'm the one leading the troops. The situation on the battlefield is constantly changing. No one can grasp it so well, especially when we don't know the information of the enemy's generals. If Danba sees an opportunity and doesn't make a move, then all of our arrangements would be ruined. Or maybe the general of Jinchuan is a simple-minded person. When he sees the enemy coming to attack, he clearly doesn't know how many troops the enemy has and leads the troops to cross the river and attack the main camp of the infantrymen. This will also disrupt the plan." After Wang Wan finished explaining her battle plan, she felt comfortable in her heart. She swayed on the mule and followed the troops forward slowly. Even if she wanted to go fast, she couldn't. The next day, at noon, the sky became gloomy. The local people who were familiar with the weather knew that it was going to rain. If it didn't rain, it would probably stop at night. It would let the humid and hot weather cool down for a few days. Riding on the horse, Guotu raised his head and looked at the sky. His face also became gloomy. If it really rained, not to mention reaching Jinchuan in 10 days, they wouldn't even be able to reach Pangzhou. They would still have to travel through Jiannan province with difficulty. Every day they delayed would make it easier for Tubo to discover them. "Great General, Why don't we let the lightly armed infantrymen go first and watch over the local villages? After that, we can burn the fields and let Tubo fall into chaos for a while. Lu Jun was also worried. He rode to the side and suggested. Wei Wei shook Guotu's head. No, if the infantrymen go first, the cavalry will be even slower if they help to transport the goods. Perhaps by the time we reach Jinchuan, Tubo will have already arranged their troops and are waiting for us to attack. At that time, the advantage of the cavalry will be used. Moreover, although we said that we are going to launch a sneak attack, we don't really plan to launch a sneak attack. With 15,000 people, even if we can't take down Jinchuan, we will be able to make Tubo not dare to make any big moves. When the time comes, we will seize the land and harvest the food. Let's see how Tubo will deal with it. Will the soldiers of our dynasty not be able to wield their sabers? What this general is worried about is whether the provisions can keep up. If the army is everywhere and the provisions are not delivered within 5 days, this general will definitely not spare Zhang Zhong. Send out an order to the entire army to increase their speed. Take advantage of the time before it rains and make it out of the rainy area. As you command. Lu Jun also knew that if the infantrymen were to advance, it would be easy for Tubo to discover them in advance. If they really listened to him and something happened, he wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. Thus, he could only follow orders. Xiao Bao, it is going to rain. This is really a bad start. I hope that our arrangements will be effective. I am puzzled. How did you know that it would rain? Wang Wan, who had also noticed the change in the weather, didn't sit on her mule anymore. She ran over to Zhang Xiaobao's mule and sat in front of Zhang Xiaobao. This way, when it rained, they wouldn't have to worry about the front and back getting wet. With a large umbrella, the two of them could lean on each other for warmth. Zhang Xiaobao hugged Wang Wan and took a few deep breaths. After he felt a little more comfortable, he said, "How would I know that it would rain today? I only know that it often rains in Sichuan. There are many mountains here, and when the hot air flows over, it will encounter the cold air flow of the mountains at high altitudes. In addition to the effect of the mountains, it is very easy for it to form rain. It is also good that it is raining. It will let Guatu see what logistics is. This time, we have paid a lot of money, and I don't think Li Longji will be able to return it to us. Maybe he will just give us some policies. I am thinking about what policies we should ask for when the time comes. Policies are better than giving money directly." I think so too. The imperial court won't be able to take out so much money to return it. What kind of policies do we need? Something that reduces taxes? That's not good. We should pay the taxes. If we don't, the country will be short of money. It would be best if it is related to the tea and horse trade. I remember that there was a person who was 3 years older than me in the courtyard where my family used to live. He made a lot of money by getting a customs clearance from his father. When he got a customs clearance, other people would partner with him to do business. They would split the profits 50-50. At that time, other people also advised me to ask my family for money to repair the roads. But I don't like to make money. Why don't we also have a road repair policy? Wang Wan was the person who understood the benefits of a policy the most. With a policy, there would be a lot of money. How could Zhang Xiaobao agree to such a policy? He said, "No, definitely not. Even if you give it to me for free, I don't want it. We might even have to fork out the money to repair the roads. Who are we going to earn from then? There are no tolls to be collected. It would be best if we could get a decree that allows free trade at the borders. Both on land and in the sea are fine." The rain finally fell from the sky. Guatu's team couldn't get out of the rain area. Not to mention that people and horses were walking on bad roads. Even if a sports car was driving on the highway, they wouldn't be able to avoid the rain. The range of the rain was too large. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team put on their raincoats and umbrellas. Even the mules were covered with a layer of oilcloth. They continued to move forward in the wind and rain. Their speed was even faster than the army in front of them. Of course, the fighting ability of the team led by the two people was much better than the army in front of them. Although there were less than 300 people, it was not a problem for them to deal with the army in front of them. Quick, quick, faster. Find a place to take shelter from the rain. Guatu's beard was completely soaked by the rain, and his armor was also soaked. He wiped his face with his hand and shouted. There was no need for him to say more. The 15,000 people also tried their best to hurry on, hoping to find a comfortable place to rest. At least they had to set up their tents. In such a narrow place, they couldn't even set up a tent. There was a mountain next to them, and the water kept rushing down. After an hour, the path soaked by the rain became even more difficult to walk on. Just when Guatu didn't know where to vent his anger, a flat area finally appeared in front of them. A tent had already been set up there. There was a fire in the tent, and when the wind blew, they could smell the aroma of food. Guatu picked up his binoculars and looked around. He said to Xiao Ling, who was next to him, "Let's go and see what's going on." Xiao Ling nodded and hurriedly ran forward. Before he reached the place, someone came out to meet him. He stood in the middle of the road and also looked in their direction with a pair of binoculars. Ah, clairvoyance? What's up ahead? How come there's also a clairvoyance? Who leaked it? Guatu looked at the person in front of him through the curtain of rain. This time, he didn't feel uncomfortable, but angry. Could just anyone have a clairvoyance? There were marks in the army, and whoever had one would be recorded in a book. If everyone had one, how could other countries not have one? This thing was a precious treasure. Perhaps the person standing in the middle of the road also considered the issue of identity. He took out a flag, put away the binoculars, and pulled the flag open with both hands so that the people in the group could see it. At this time, the people in front of the group had already stopped and looked at this person warily. Guatu tried hard to look at that person's flag. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "Who knows what that flag is?" "It's drawn in a way that's neither human nor ghost. Looking at it vaguely, it looks like a rice sprout." When the army officer heard this, he remembered something. He moved closer and said, "General, are you sure it's a rice sprout? Isn't it a very interesting rice sprout with big eyes and thin arms?" "Yes." Guatu nodded in response. The army officer was relieved and said, "General, that's the flag of the Zhang family. It's the special flag of the family of Governor Zhang, who is in charge of logistics. It's between the clouds and the water." "Oh, I see. But what's his family doing here?" As soon as Guatu heard, "between the clouds and the water," he knew who it was. He was even more puzzled. At this time, Xiao Ling was near the people in front of the group. After talking for a while, he ran back happily. General, good news. Very good news. This is the resting place that the logistics camp of Izhou prepared for us. They set up a shelter from the rain and cooked meat porridge. They told us to rest there. He said that there's also medicine. I'm afraid we'll get sick." Xiao Ling excitedly reported to Guatu's day. Guatu was immediately stunned. The army officer next to him called out twice before he recovered. He said in disbelief, "What? The logistics camp? How did they go to the front and set up a shelter? Let's go and have a look." Guatu wasn't the only one who was surprised. The other generals and soldiers were also surprised by what they saw. It was the first time they heard that the people in charge of escorting provisions were in charge of this kind of thing. When the group in front of the army entered the shelter, Guatu found the person in charge here. "General Gua, this way, please. There's tea and snacks here." "General Gua, you've worked hard," the person in charge here said respectfully to Guatu's day. Guatu felt that he was scolding people. If he had worked hard, what were the people here? Since when did the logistics team become so crazy? Yes, it was usually said that before the troops and horses moved, the provisions would move first. But it was just a saying. He had never seen it before. Today he had learned something new. The people in charge of logistics ran to the front of the army and set up a shelter and porridge. If all the people in charge of logistics had this kind of ability, who would be the main force? Thinking of this, Guatu had to ask. If he didn't ask, he would feel that there was one more thing in his heart. At this time, he regretted his attitude towards Zhang in Izhou. He thought that Zhang Zhong, a civil official, couldn't do anything. Now he understood. Looking at the shelter, it was clear that it could be used to attack and retreat. It was actually set up in a marching formation. This was in the territory of the Tang Empire. He didn't even send out scouts. If the other party could set up such a formation, it meant that they were used to it. It wasn't deliberate at all. Could it be that the Zhang family had been in the army for generations? How did you get here? Guotu asked. Replying to the general, we came here in advance. The main family said that there would be a lot of rain in early autumn. In order not to delay the army's journey, we set up the shelter in advance. When it rains, we set it up. 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 Chapter 606. Hearing what the person in charge said, Guotu's face was burning. He was embarrassed to set up the tent in such a hurry. The tent was set up in the heavy rain, the fire was lit, and the meat porridge was cooked. If this wasn't good enough, then what was? No wonder the imperial court sent Zhang Zhong here in such a hurry. The imperial court did not send anyone else to be in charge of logistics. It turned out that this was the reason. Zhang Zhong seemed to have just arrived in Yizhou not long ago. 5 days? How did he do it? General, take off your clothes first. Here is a clean towel. Your clothes will be dry in a while. The straw raincoat and bamboo hat are also ready. After the meal, we can continue on the road. If anyone is not feeling well, you can take some medicine. It's for colds. The person in charge still said respectfully. Guotu did not dare to neglect him at this time. His strength was there for all to see. He also said politely, "Thank you. I didn't expect to meet people from the logistics camp in such a situation. You came in time. You are really extraordinary." Guotu was indeed speaking from the bottom of his heart. It was the dream of every general to have such logistics to provide assistance to the troops. It was too comfortable. If they could not win the battle, they would be letting down the people in charge of logistics. The soldiers also made up their minds while drinking the hot meat porridge. Even if they had to die, they would kill more people. Otherwise, how could they have the face to come back and see others? Did they want to be a coward by providing good food and drink for them? Even a dog knows how to help by people. After the meal, the clothes were almost dry. The soldiers put on their clothes, bamboo hats, and straw raincoats. When they moved forward again, they felt full of strength. General, look at the map. The road ahead is not easy to walk. There are continuous hills and the road is slippery in the rain. Do you want to think of something, such as cutting some branches on the side? The team moved forward for another 2 hours, but the rain still did not stop. The officer held a military map printed with ink in his hand and said to Gua Tuesday. This map was sent to the imperial court by the Zhang family. When Guotu saw the map, he sighed again. With the help of the clairvoyance, the Zhang family seemed to have prepared everything. Looking at the terrain on the map, Guotu hesitated for a moment and said, "Let's go there and take a look. The road here is narrow, so let's go quickly. If we really can't go up, we can cut down branches nearby." Half an hour later, when the team in front arrived at the foot of the hill, Guotu, who had seen the situation through the 1,000-mile eye, was shocked again. There were many people laying sand and stones on the hillside in the heavy rain. The sand and stones had been laid from the bottom of the hillside to the top of the hillside. Beside them, there was a flag that was wet and rolled up by the rain. It didn't need to be unfolded to know what was painted on it. It must be a cute rice seedling with a pair of big eyes, indicating that it was from the logistics battalion of the Zhang family in Yizhou. Run forward. If anyone is delayed, you have to ask for punishment from the logistics camp. Mother Kerr, did you see that? This is what we call logistics. Unimpeded. Everyone, follow me. Guotu shouted excitedly and the order was passed down. The team in front rushed up the hillside in an orderly manner. When they stood on the hillside and looked down, they saw that the road here was also paved. The other hillside in front of them was also paved with sand and soil. At first glance, they knew that it was paved in sections. Looking at the figures in the rain, bending down and shoveling sand onto the road, it would be a lie to say that they weren't moved. All the soldiers had a different feeling in their hearts. If the logistics camp could do logistics to such an extent, then what about the main force? This battle could only be won, not lost, even if there was only one person left. Many of the soldiers had tears in their eyes as they walked through this so-called most difficult yet easiest mountain path. When Guotu walked over and looked back, he said with emotion, "Zhang is really amazing. No one dares to challenge the Zhang family's logistics. This is good. We don't have to worry about the logistics not being able to keep up. I just don't know to what extent they can do logistics." Lu Jun listened on the side and agreed. General is right. After we win this battle, we must thank Zhang properly when we come back. No wonder the emperor transferred Zhang from Shuzhou to Yingzhou instead of sending someone else. No one else could do this. This kind of logistics is too scary. Lu Jun nodded and said, "You are right. After winning this battle, we must thank Zhang properly when we come back. I just don't understand. How did they arrange all the way to Yizhou? Where did they get the time? I heard that in the imperial court, Zhang's name has long been familiar and no one is allowed to impeach him. At first, I thought it was fake. Now it seems that it is true. Whoever impeaches Zhang has bad intentions. Not to mention that such a person rarely does anything wrong. Even if he does, he is right. No matter where he is, he can immediately take care of the local affairs. What's the big deal if he makes a mistake? General, don't you think so?" "Yes, that's right. If someone badmouths Zhang to me, I won't be willing either. If I have someone like Zhang as my subordinate, if anyone dares to badmouth him, the first person I'll deal with will be that person. Then, I'll ask who asked him to come here. Zhang is really too comfortable to use." Guotu nodded in agreement. He had decided that after winning the battle, he would give some of the things he got to Zhang as compensation for his previous rudeness to Zhang. At that time, Zhang didn't lower himself to his level. Otherwise, he would have done something to the logistics. Now he saw that not only did he not do anything, but he also arranged it very carefully. When he looked down on Zhang, he was actually looking down on himself. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also arrived at the location of the first shed. The two of them were not in a hurry. Everything in front of them was arranged. The team stopped to rest and listened to the report of the person in charge. "Young master, young lady, Guotu's team has already gone over. What do I need to do here?" The person in charge brought a big bowl of soup and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at the soup and praised, "Not bad, you put in a lot of ginger. You don't have to worry now. It's still raining. Once the rain stops, we'll act according to my plan. We'll move the logistics forward. Cuckoo has made some calculations. This attack might not be successful, so we must be prepared," Zhang Xiaobao said as he handed the new plan to the person in charge. The person in charge took it and respectfully left so that the young master and young lady could drink the soup. As for whether the young lady's judgment was wrong, he didn't even dare to think about it. What the god said was right. He had never encountered a situation where he was wrong. It was fine to move the logistics forward. It didn't cost him anything. Wang Wan had learned to maintain appropriate silence when doing things outside. Her mother and Zhang Xiaobao's mother had taught her that when she was with a man outside, she should try to let the man take charge as much as possible. No matter how capable a woman was, she couldn't show it, let alone show that she was better than a man. Wang Wan was very obedient, not only because of her mother and future mother-in-law here, but also because it was also like this at home. Even if her father occasionally overdid things, her mother wouldn't say anything to him face to face. When the person in charge left and there was no one around to disturb the two of them, Wang Wan poked Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Didn't we agree that I would be in charge of things on the battlefield? When did you write the plan? How come I didn't know? Drink the soup, drink the soup. The soup is not bad. There's a lot of aged vinegar. Try it, Zhang Xiaobao said evasively and pushed the bowl of soup in front of Wang Wan. I'm asking you a question. Please answer it directly. I just realized, Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, after being with you for so many years, why can't I see through you? Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao and said. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, Actually, I don't know you very well. Even if I had the chance to know you, I wouldn't know. Think about it, we were originally a police officer and a bandit, so we know each other very well. We live together here. If we really know everything, then what will we do when we grow up? Will we still have passion in bed? Men and women are attracted to each other in mystery and conquer each other as they gradually understand each other. Don't you want to use your own judgment to conquer me? So you want to conquer me? What do you mean by passion in bed in the future? Why does it sound awkward to me? Do you mean, in the future, I'll lie in bed and wait for you to conquer me? You've made it clear. Wang Wan's eyes widened. You can conquer me in the future. I'm easy to talk to. Drink the soup, while it's hot. Zhang Xiaobao realized that he really didn't understand Wang Wan in this matter. What future? I'm conquering you now. How old are you? You dare to talk like this? You have to respect me. Wang Wan reached out her hand to pinch Zhang Xiaobao, but stopped. She knew that this little bit of pain had no effect on Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao decided not to continue this conversation. He nodded and drank the soup with his head lowered. If his ears were good, he would be able to hear his vague words. Respect you conquering me. I'll save my energy and enjoy it when I'm passive. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan led the team to rest and continue on the road, Guotu's team came to a difficult place to walk. This time, they didn't have to worry about the mud. The road ahead was full of bare stones. Some were round and some were sharp. It was very difficult for the soldiers to walk on them. The main reason was that the armor on their bodies was too heavy. If they were not careful, they would sprain their ankle or cut a wound on their calf. Guotu looked at the seemingly endless road. The first thing that came to his mind was not how to cross it, but whether the logistics camp would appear again. He stopped and looked around with his clairvoyance, hoping to get help. Just as he was about to be disappointed, a team appeared from a nearby mountain valley. His eyes lit up. General, look, are those people from the logistics camp? Too many. Where did they find so many mules? At the same time, Xin Jun also saw the situation over there and shouted excitedly. Chapter 607. Today, there is an official who travels 1,000 miles to come here. Glistening white rice, cook it for me to eat. Kindness far away in the water. Today, there is an official who travels 1,000 miles to come here. Fine it into salt and add it for me to eat. Kindness far away in the mountain. I think. The mountain knows, the river knows. Add to my clothes and feed me medicine. I am willing to rule with you. After his son and daughter-in-law left, Zhang Zhong suppressed the worry in his heart and began to govern. There were only about 4,000 people in a province. It was a small number, but no matter how small it was, they were still common people. Since they had come, they had to let the common people live a good life, even if their purpose was not. There was nothing to do anyway. Opening the plan left by his son, Zhang Zhong read it from beginning to end. He had a rough idea of what to do. He ordered the servants in his family to start implementing the plan that very night. Old Man Pai and the other two also stayed in the manor. It was not that they did not want to go to the front to take a look, but the weather was really unbearable. With their old arms and legs, they could only join in the fun with the Zhang family with the presence of a doctor. If they really had to march, they would die of exhaustion on the road. The three old men could not find anything interesting to do. When they were about to go and see Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they found a very serious problem. The two children were gone. They had seen them before, and Xiao Bao had even told them a story. How did they disappear in the blink of an eye? After some questioning, the three old men were dumbfounded. The two children were too bold. They actually ran to the back of the army to help. If something happened, wouldn't the Zhang family and Wang family go crazy? They immediately sent 50 guards to chase after them. Now that it was almost dark and Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had not returned, the people chasing after them did not believe them. When they found out that 200 of Li Sun's men had followed them, they were not so worried. They thought that as long as they followed behind and did not cross the border, nothing would happen. That night, the Zhang family and the Wang family did not work overnight to build a house. Instead, they found thick branches and started a bonfire on the flat ground outside the city. They ate the oily roasted meat, drank the boiled rice wine, and sang and danced. The commoners who helped out were also invited to join in the fun. Zhang Zhong did not mention anything about wages at all. When the commoners came to work, they had no intention of asking for money. When they saw the other party inviting them to work, they happily ate, drank, sang, and danced together. The Zhang family and the Wang family had people in charge of entertainment. They knew many kinds of dances and were very adaptable. If there were locals who were willing to learn, they would teach them. If there were locals who danced by themselves, they would learn and dance with them. The atmosphere was very harmonious. Even Zhang Zhong had put down his pride and pulled Jiang Wang clan to dance around the bonfire. Even the 7 children were dancing and shouting. It was hard to tell what style they were dancing in, but they even sat on the ground. The commoners originally liked to be lively. They would sing and dance when there was something to do. However, in the past, other than harvesting, farming, marriage, and funerals, it was very difficult to find a time when so many people gathered together. The total number of people in the Zhang family and the Wang family was more than 1,000. This was not the village, but the inner courtyard and the doctors. Old Man Chong was alone, while Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's family were more than 500 people. This was under the condition that each family sent out 50 guards. The two people were having fun on the flat ground outside the city. It was so lively that the remaining commoners in the city could not stay still. They all dragged their families out to join in the fun. If anyone wanted to sing for everyone, there would be improvised accompaniment by the band. There were even dancers who moved to the music. The commoners did not know how good Zhang Zhong was as an official. They only knew that this new official was a good person. He was not like the previous officials who occasionally came to check on them. They ate and drank for free and did not pay attention to the commoners. They did not even sing or dance with the commoners. The second impression was that the wine in this official's family was delicious, especially the rice wine that was cooked with shredded ginger and fruits. It was sour, sweet, and cold. Together with the powder in the roasted meat, it was also good. The best impression was that this official's family members could sing and dance. They had many musical instruments. When they sang and danced, there was immediately someone who came to play with them. Where could they find such an official in the past? Good official. That official's wife was also very good. She could not even sing to her. This ability was worthy of respect. The commoners were satisfied, but the 3 old men were dumbfounded. They had lived for so many years, but this was the first time they saw the provincial governor bring his family and commoners out to play in the middle of the night instead of sleeping. What do you mean? Old Man Chong did not believe that Zhang Zhong was so free that he would mess around. Especially after understanding the Zhang family's way of doing things, it seemed that every action had a deep meaning. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao were also puzzled. This was not the style of the Zhang family. Didn't Zhang Zhong have a pattern when he became an official? First, he would find work for the commoners, then give them wages. When they worked, they would eat well. Then, he would find a way to lead the commoners to make a fortune together according to the local situation. In the process, he would also lend money to the commoners. The interest rate was very low. What was wrong with him today? He actually did not give wages, nor did he mention anything about loans. Could it be that he was sick from being cheated here? Old Man Pai drank a cup of medicine wine and also drank half a bowl of rice wine. He waved his hand and called over a person from the Zhang family's inner courtyard, who was in charge of delivering the wine. "What is your family doing? If you don't sleep today, can you still get up tomorrow to build houses? Old Man Pai asked the person who walked over. In reply to Sir Bai, there is no rush to build houses. Everything will be done according to the plan. Winter is still far away, so the houses can be built slowly, the person respectfully replied. What is the plan? Old Man Yao asked from the side. The local economic development plan. Master said that every time I come, no matter what I do, as long as I am the provincial governor, I have the responsibility to let the commoners live a good life. Even if there is only one commoner, I can't ignore it, let alone more than 4,000 people. When the war is over and I withdraw, I have to at least double the income of the commoners. The person who came was still very respectful, but when he said these words, it made people feel his arrogance. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao looked at each other. The two of them really didn't expect the Zhang family to do things like this. They were still busy with logistics, but they didn't give up on this place. If it was any other official who dared to say that they could double the income of the commoners in Yizhou, they wouldn't believe it. But when it came from the Zhang family, they had no choice but to believe it. Waving his hand, Old Man Chong signaled for the person to go back to work. He didn't ask for details, because he couldn't ask. The Zhang family and the Wang family each had their own division of labor, so the person who delivered the wine definitely couldn't know the details of the plan. If only all the officials of the Tang Empire could be like this. Zhang Zhong is a bit stupid, but he can't find fault with the way he acts as an official. He is wholeheartedly devoted to the commoners, has never been greedy for taxes, and has never accepted bribes. It's hard to find someone like him, really hard to find. Old Man Chong took a big bite of meat, swallowed it, and evaluated Zhang Zhong. Old Man Pai also drank the rest of the wine in his bowl and said, "That's because his family has the ability to make money. How much can he be greedy for? Even if he wants to accept bribes, he needs someone to dare to give it to him. Giving him money once isn't even enough to let him relax a little." The government makes a lot of money doing business, so who can afford it? If he gives less, wouldn't he be scolding Zhang Zhong? That's true, but what's the meaning of Zhang Zhong jumping around now? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have left, so it's not good to ask Zhang Zhong directly. Old Man Yao also admitted that the Zhang family's way of doing things wasn't easy to learn. The main reason was that there were very few officials who could make money like the Zhang family and think of ways to let the commoners earn money. Building roads required money, and if they didn't have money, they had to wait for the imperial court to give them. That would be troublesome. Since it's not easy to ask, then let's wait and see. I'll be able to figure out something. I'll write it down and let other officials learn from it. Old Man Pai drank some wine and felt comfortable after relaxing. He leaned back in his chair and narrowed his eyes as he waited for the results. Zhang Zhong was still dancing with the commoners. He didn't have the talent for dancing, so he looked awkward when he danced. Fortunately, the commoners didn't care about how others danced. Most of them were actually dancing for themselves and for others to see. When they gathered together, there was food and drink, and they were happy when it was lively. The bonfire party didn't end until dawn the next day. People were arranged to send the commoners who were tired from dancing and fell asleep in the middle of the night, as well as the commoners who drank too much and fell asleep to their homes. During this time, there were a few doctors here to take a look at them. If they were sick, they were directly sent home with medicine. They also wrote down the method of boiling the medicine. Those who couldn't read would naturally find someone to ask. The next morning, both the Zhang family and the Wang family were sleeping. They only woke up when it was about to rain in the afternoon. The cook made a large amount of pastries, and the craftsmen used local materials to make a few hundred fishing rods. They also prepared the bait. When it started to rain, Zhang Zhong opened a large umbrella and led a few dozen people to the riverside to fish. Old Man Pai and the other two also put on an extra set of clothes to fish with them. The commoners who also woke up were busy with their own family matters, while others were holding prescriptions and asking people how to boil the medicine. There were also some who wandered out to see if the new official had anything to do. When they saw the official who had danced and sang with them yesterday fishing by the riverside, they also came over to join in the fun. Zhang Zhong gave everyone fishing rods and prepared pastries at the same time. Suddenly, there were a few dozen more people. After the commotion last night, the nearby strongholds on the mountain all knew about it. They all sent people to find out what the new official was going to do. It would be good if he wasn't going to force them to fight for rent. After understanding the situation in detail, the people in the stronghold were puzzled, but they also had more expectations. They hoped that the new official would dance again so that they could join in. After all, the new official had many musical instruments at home and many people who knew how to dance. When he was fishing, Zhang Zhong didn't care about how many fish there were. Every time he caught a fish, he would show off to the locals. Every time the locals caught a fish, he would go over and celebrate with them. He gave people the impression that he wasn't a provincial governor, but a very ordinary person. After the old man Pai caught a big fish and was flattered by Zhang Zhong, he said in confusion, "Is this still Zhang Zhong?" In the past, Zhang Zhong didn't do anything. He was polite and didn't panic. He didn't show any joy. He was so steady that it made people feel that he was like a towering mountain. Could this be a person changed by the environment? On the third day, there was no rain at night, so the bonfire party continued. This time, it was amazing. Not only did the people in the city come out, but many people in the stronghold also came out. The young chiefs of 2 strongholds also came out and joined in the fun. They drank and chatted. Zhang Zhong and the 2 chiefs had their arms around each other's shoulders and walked around. From time to time, they would joke with each other. When it was dawn, he gave the people in the stronghold a lot of rice, salt, and cloth. He talked with the 2 chiefs and agreed that tomorrow they would go to one of the strongholds to play. If they wanted to eat mountain delicacies, it wouldn't be interesting if they didn't have enough. The 2 chiefs also agreed and took away a lot of wine. They said that when they went back, they would let everyone have a taste. They had to come and bring their families, including the children. Otherwise, they would look down on them. The people in the stronghold were very satisfied. This official was too good. He was so good that he didn't seem like an official, but like the chief of a stronghold. The people were satisfied, but Old Man Yao and the other 2 were not. Zhang Zhong was such an official. Wasn't he smearing the face of the imperial court? They couldn't help but look for Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong received the 3 old men in the tent. The charcoal stove was burning, and a teapot was sitting on top of it. A tea set was set up, and the Westlake Longjing tea was placed to the side. The melon seeds and dried fruits were also placed around it. When the 3 old men saw this, they knew that Zhang Zhong was going to treat them to kung fu tea. When they thought of Zhang Zhong's actions yesterday and this morning, it formed a strong contrast, making it difficult for them to get used to it. After watching Zhang Zhong heat the cups, pick up the tea leaves, wash the tea leaves, and rinse the water, the 3 old men each took a sip and poured away the remaining tea. Only then did Old Man Pai, who had been waiting impatiently, open his mouth. Yongqing, Xiaobao and Cuckoo went so far away. It's better to let them come back as soon as possible. They can go out and watch the fun. They can't delay their studies. Old Man Pai didn't have the right to question them directly. He didn't have the right to question them, so he could only beat around the bush. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said that it would delay their studies, even he didn't believe it himself. There was nothing left to teach. What needed to be memorized, the 2 people with high IQ had already memorized it all. They had the ability to understand adults and the memory of children. Now, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were together with Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, they were mostly discussing or learning from the 2 old men's way of thinking. When Zhang Zhong heard Old Man Pai mention his son and daughter-in-law, his eyes flickered. As a father, he didn't feel bad for them, but no one else did. If there was someone in the 2 families who could do this, other than Xiaobao and Cuckoo, even if they were only half as good as his son and daughter-in-law, he wouldn't have to let the 2 children go out. He sighed and said, "Other people's children are still young, but Xiaobao and Cuckoo are older. If they want to go out and play, they can go out and play for a few days. I can't control them. Yongqing, don't be like this. I think Xiaobao and Cuckoo are not bad." Before they left, they told me about the people in Izhou. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to ask them. Yongqing, do you know what the two children are thinking? Old Man Pai casually asked Zhang Zhong as he took the third cup of tea that Zhang Zhong poured for him. Zhang Zhong missed his son even more now. The plan didn't only write about how to carry out economic development, it also wrote about the reactions of the three old men. This was part of the development process. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to handle. Thinking of this, Zhang Zhong directly poured away the small cup of tea in his hand, which was already cold, and poured another cup of tea for each of the three old men. He didn't need Old Man Pai to continue beating around the bush. He straightforwardly said, "Sir Bai, are you here to denounce me? Say that I shouldn't have disregarded my position and played with the people like this?" Once the words were out in the open, the three old men really didn't know what to do. It was not good to say yes or no, but they couldn't say anything. Old Man Chong was more straightforward. He replied, "I have such thoughts, not to condemn, but to ask what the deep meaning is. The Zhang family's way of doing things has always been difficult to understand. Learn from them. Yes, learn from them. Hey. Actually, I don't want to do that either. Wouldn't it be better to directly recruit workers and give them wages like the local people and Shuzhou? The same trick can be used back and forth, but it definitely can't be used. Just like the godson I took in Luzhou. Do I lack a son? If you don't take in the mountain people, they won't believe you. The people here are the same. Each of the strongholds only listen to orders. Unless I am ruthless enough to send troops to suppress them, otherwise, they will be the same as before after I leave. If it really comes to a point where I have to use force to solve it, it can only mean that I have failed. If the officials are incompetent, the people won't cooperate." Zhang Zhong began to complain. What he said was not wrong at all. It was all the truth. If he didn't think about the link in his son's plan and didn't scheme against the three old men, it would be perfect. The three old men didn't know that before Zhang Xiaobao left, he had dug a hole for them to jump into. When they heard Zhang Zhong's words and looked at Zhang Zhong's helpless expression, they felt the same way. Wingzhou was not easy to govern. It took a lot of effort to collect the annual tribute. It was not easy to beg. If they didn't use some other means, they could not expect the local people to cooperate. Old Man Chong was not too particular. He drank the cold tea, smacked his lips and said, "What do you have in mind?" Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao listened attentively. They wanted to see what other means the Zhang family could come up with in the face of such a situation. This was different from before. When Lu Zhou was in charge, the mountain people cooperated. One reason was that Zhang Zhong did give them benefits and even took in a son. Another reason was that the local people were affected by the disaster. Now that Wing Zhou was not affected by the disaster, they couldn't think of a way to make others suffer. Zhang Zhong didn't speak this time. He seemed to be thinking, but he didn't forget to pour tea for the three old men. When the tea leaves were brewed for the 7th time, he said, "My solution is simple. Since I can't use my identity as an official to gain the people's trust, then I'll become brothers with them. I'll invite them to play now and go to their stronghold tomorrow. We'll give each other things. Don't let them think that they owe you, and don't let them think that you owe them. After a period of time, when you're familiar with each other, you can discuss with them how to get rich as brothers. That way, they won't think that you're lying to them. To be honest, I've even prepared the rooster and yellow paper. I even asked someone to bring me a scalpel. I'm ready to drink blood and marry them. I always feel that the prestige of an official doesn't depend on how powerful you are. It depends on whether you can make the people in the place you govern treat you sincerely, and whether you can make them live a good life. Even if I'm demoted now and don't have any official position, when I return to Sanshui County, will I still lack face? Will I lose face if I'm sent to Luzhou to be a scribe? Not to mention a little face, I'm even willing to give up my life. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When Zhang Zhong said what his son and daughter-in-law said to him, he suddenly felt noble. The three old men were shocked. They did not expect Zhang Zhong to say such heroic words. At the same time, they had to admit that Zhang Zhong was right. This was especially true for Old Man Pai. He had seen with his own eyes the scene of thousands of people sending Zhang Zhong off when he left Hua Yuan County. He also knew how Lu Zhou came up with the 10,000 people watch. Not to mention that Zhang Zhong still had an official position, and the Zhang family and the Wang family still had business. Even if they had nothing, as long as they were still alive, as long as they were in a place like this, all they had to do was say hello, and thousands of people would get along well. So, if I don't do this, it's still wrong? Old Man Pai suddenly had such a thought in his mind. Zhang Zhong continued to pour the tea. This was the 9th time, and the color of the tea was still as strong. Old Man Yao was the first to react. He looked at the tea in the cup and asked, "What's wrong with your tea? Why is the Westlake Longjing tea so bland that I can't drink it anymore after 8 steepings? How can your tea still be brewed?" It's not that the tea given to Master Yao is not good. It's just that we've recently adopted a new tea frying technique. Moreover, the tea we picked is really good. That's why I can make 2 more steepings. The tea will be bland if I make 2 more steepings. It's just 2 more steepings. Please, Zhang Zhong said modestly, but he was very proud in his heart. Of course, his son and daughter-in-law had to keep the good stuff for their own family. It was good enough that they drank it. The tea they sent to the palace only had 7 steepings. They did not dare to send good tea. Otherwise, how would they explain if the tea was not good enough in a bad year? Old Man Chong did not care about the number of steepings when he drank tea. He felt that the thick and large steeped jasmine tea was better than the current Longjing tea. He had nothing to do with 100 steepings. However, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao understood that even if there were 2 more steepings, the price would increase by several times. This method of drinking tea was no longer to eliminate indigestion. If one really wanted to aid digestion, it was better to drink black tea. There was no need to drink green tea. Drinking tea was a kind of status. If it was better, one would be better than others. Old Man Pai looked at the small clumps of Westlake Longjing tea in the tea box beside him. He finally could not help but say, "The new technique is good. Let's try it later." Zhang Zhong took out the 3 boxes that he had prepared earlier. There was this part in the proposal, and even the person who proposed it was indicated. Sure enough, it was not bad. What his son left behind was not a proposal, but a life-saving silk pouch. It was a foresight. Even if Serbai did not say it, I would have someone send the new tea over later. Let's see how the new technique is. Serbai, do you like outdoor sports? As Zhang Zhong spoke, he pushed the 3 boxes in front of the 3 old men. Old Man Chong was the most straightforward. He held the box in his arms and was ready to send it to his master, Zhang Jiuling. He asked, "What kind of outdoor sports are outdoor sports?" "It's sports outside the house, such as horseback riding, archery, and alpine skiing. This alpine skiing is suitable for this place. There is snow on the mountain now. When winter comes, it will be even more amazing. Use the skis to quickly slide down from the top. Feel the cold, the blood in your heart, and the heroism of flying." Zhang Zhong awkwardly used the advertising slogan written by his son. After seeing the 3 old men nodding to show that they understood, Zhang Zhong continued, "Even if this place is done according to the method of tourism, ordinary people are not willing to come here. There must be a special feature, which is alpine skiing. It is not convenient to transport things out, so it is better to lead people in. Experience alpine skiing, find a relatively fast-flowing river, and experience the singing and dancing of the local people. Then, write a few fairy tale-like stories and print them into books. Build a fairy tale-like world here. The local people will be able to earn money, and at the same time, it will promote communication with outsiders. I hope that Sir Bai, Sir Yao, and Uncle Zhang can help with this matter. In the name of the 3 of you, invite officials or rich people from Jianan to come here and write poems. The first time is free, and there will be gifts." Zhang Zhong was not afraid that the 3 of them would not agree. He had made it clear just now. If anyone did not agree now, they would be disregarding the livelihood of the people. As expected, Old Man Pai and the other 2 nodded happily. They were also willing to do something. However, Old Man Pai felt that something was wrong, especially with the tea leaves. Why did they prepare it so well? It seemed like they had been tricked. Chapter 608. Thousands of miles of rivers and mountains, thousands of miles of distance, vast mountains and rivers at the border. Winding paths light into lines, dark mountains and dark bridges. Without seeing the galaxy, the wind is not warm. How can the moon and leaves wither? Before leaving the border, the boats of the Jinchuan branch await. In the dark night, there were no stars and no moon. After the rain stopped, the cloudy day seemed colder than before. Guotu led the team to light torches and walked down the path that could easily slide into the deep stream at any time. Knowing that he had been delayed, he wanted to grow wings and fly across this distance. The only thing that satisfied him these days was the logistics camp. They always waited in front of him to arrange everything. If he wanted to rest at night, there was a special place. When it was time to eat, there was also hot food. If he didn't know that he had a mission, he would think that he was traveling in the Yaowang mountain of Yaozhou. It gave him the feeling that this was not marching. It was too comfortable. Even before walking this path, there were people who prepared ropes and connected them one by one to prevent them from falling into the stream. But the speed of the march was still slow. If this continued, they might not even see the border, let alone reach the Jinchuan in 10 days. If it was another time, they might find a reason to blame the logistics camp, saying that the food supply was not in time. But facing the logistics camp of Yizhou, even the most shameless general did not dare to do so. If they all thought that the logistics camp was not doing a good job, how could they expect the logistics camp to carry them through? It was better to withdraw the army and let the logistics camp fight. If only the logistics camp could let us grow wings. Thinking of the magical logistics camp, Guotu could not help muttering to himself. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still leading the troops and following behind the soldiers in front of them for half a day. Their progress was very relaxed, and the troops had expanded a little. The guards that Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao had sent to look for them were persuaded to stay behind. They were prepared to complete a logistics mission together. It is estimated that Guotu's team will reach a suitable place to board the ship in another 2 hours. This is the last journey in the border to see them off. I hope they can complete the mission successfully and try to let as many people come back alive. The people who transported food and cooked along the way can be paid to go home. Zhang Xiaobao looked through his binoculars at the long line of torches on the winding road ahead and gave his blessing. Wang Wan also knew that people had to die in war, whether it was actively or passively. There was no such thing as 0 casualties. Many of the soldiers in the front line had not yet married and had children. Who knew how many of them would come back alive and how many of them would be buried in a foreign land? After changing into a pair of short spiked shoes, she held a stick in her hand to prevent herself from accidentally falling down. She looked at the dark night sky and said, "The grain should have already been transported to the border. The follow-up grain is also being gathered. By the time we arrive, they should have entered Tubo's territory. It will be difficult to transport the subsequent grain. We can only wait for Guotu to send a message back to know where to send the grain." What was this? He didn't reveal the battle plan in advance and had to wait until after the border. Even now, I still don't know what his intentions are. I think it's not that he doesn't want to tell us in advance, but that he himself doesn't know how to fight this battle. Perhaps there will be changes at any time. If he tells us his plan now, what if it doesn't work when the time comes? That would be a scam. Let's follow him. This is why logistics is difficult. Zhang Xiaobao took a bite of the compressed biscuit and chewed it in his mouth, speaking in a muffled voice. After 2 hours, the vanguard of the army led by Guotu saw a path that led downwards diagonally. If they didn't take this downwards path and walk directly, they would have to continue on the small path. However, there was a sign erected at this place. Looking at it with the light of the torch, there was an arrow on it, and below it was a row of small words. "Go down, you can take a boat. Once you pass the border." The news quickly reached Guotu's. He led the army forward and looked at the sign before looking at the downwards path. Just as he was hesitating, the river below lit up. Under the illumination of the light, countless boats stopped on the river and moved up and down with the waves. This scene gave Guotu a fright. Fortunately, they didn't pass the border. Otherwise, he would really think that Tubo wanted to launch a sneak attack on him. Of course, this was just a sudden thought. He didn't think that anyone in Tubo would be stupid enough to launch a sneak attack from below. If they wanted to launch a sneak attack, they would lay in ambush on the mountain and throw down a rock. General, look at that flag. It belongs to the logistics camp. Should we take a boat? The army asked softly. He admired the logistics camp even more. They even prepared a transport boat. Along the way, they received a lot of care from the logistics camp. It seemed that Zhang Zhong lived up to his reputation. Did Guotu have a choice? If they didn't take a boat and continued on the mountain path, it would really delay them. Now, it seemed that if they took a boat and followed the river, they could even shorten the time by 1 or 2 days to reach Tubo's Jinchuan. He didn't hesitate and ordered, "All soldiers, pay attention to your feet. Get on the boat." Following the order, the vanguard began to walk down. As they walked, they realized that there was no danger. There was actually a railing on the side of the road. Even if they accidentally slipped, they would hit the railing first. There was also a place for a torch on the railing. If they stuck it up, they wouldn't have to worry about suddenly falling. Guotu looked at the railing carefully and said, "It's newly built." It seems that Zhang Zhong didn't have enough time to prepare it. Otherwise, he might have built railings on both sides of the road. I just don't know if they can still deliver the provisions in time after we pass the border. General, they don't even know how we are going to move. How would they know where to send the provisions? Moreover, the imperial court only asked them to gather the provisions. Once we pass the border, our army will receive the provisions. Do we still need them to continue sending the provisions? Lu Jun didn't think that Zhang Zhong would do anything more. What he did now was already good. As long as they didn't lack provisions when they passed the border, then Zhang Zhong's mission would be considered complete. Of course, this would depend on how the imperial court arranged it. If Zhang Zhong continued to take the opportunity to provide support, then the logistics camp would have to wait at the border. At the very least, they would have to transport more provisions to the border cities so that they could provide enough provisions when the army in front needed them. Guotu also knew that he was thinking too much. How could the logistics camp follow to the front? Even if they did, they wouldn't go too far. Zhang Zhong was a civil official and didn't have an army. The consequences of going deep into Tubo were obvious. It was just that the logistics camp did too well, making people reluctant to leave. Unfortunately, once they passed the border, it wasn't the logistics camp's world anymore. He raised his hand and rubbed his face that was a little uncomfortable from the cold night air. He also followed the group and walked down. Every time they walked to a place that they thought was dangerous, they would realize that not only were the railings beside them higher, there were even steps under their feet. Just like that, 15,000 people were separated into hundreds of boats and went down the river. By the time Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived, the fleet in front of them was already nowhere to be seen. Now, we don't have to continue making arrangements for the matters in front. There's no way to arrange them anyway. It's good now that we don't have to worry anymore. I haven't seen what the border here looks like, so I'll go over and take a look. Wang Wan stood at the temporarily built pier by the river and waited for the boats prepared for them to arrive. Zhang Xiaobao's mind wasn't on the battlefield at this time. He was thinking about how to recoup his losses. This time, we paid 120,000 strings of cash in advance. Li Longji is a black-hearted guy, so it's impossible to expect him to pay us back. I'm wondering if we can ask him to give us a piece of grassland and raise some good horses there. When the time comes, we can ship them to various places and find rich people to participate in horse gambling. It's a very interesting activity. That's a good idea. Even if it's further away and the conditions are more difficult, it's good to have a piece of land in Fengzhou, which is also Inner Mongolia. There are grasslands and deserts there, and we can raise more cattle there. If the climate isn't good, we can plant some cash crops like jujube trees or grapes. Those things will be more expensive if we ship them back. Wang Wan couldn't do anything about this. Even if Li Longji didn't do anything and gave her and Zhang Xiaobao a chance to avenge the people of Wangjiang, she would have to think of a way to take revenge on her own. However, it was different now. Li Longji was the one who suggested it first. If they couldn't pay back the money, they could use the land in exchange. She believed that Li Longji would agree very quickly. That place wasn't a good place to go now. The winds in the desert were strong, the weather in the grasslands changed frequently, and there were many wolves in the wild. The population was pitifully small, and they were all nomads. Ordinary people wouldn't go even if you gave them money. If they asked for a piece of land there, wouldn't Li Longji go crazy with joy? Thinking of this, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Do we need to send someone back to tell Grandpa Bai and the others? We can only be at ease after we get the land." "Don't say it, we definitely can't say it. If we say it now, with those shrewd people in the imperial court, and Li Longji, this emperor, who is not stupid, they will definitely tell us a lot of difficulties. They will also talk about how good Feng province is and make us take out new things to exchange. In the end, the land they give us won't be big. Don't we have an account of the money spent this time? When it's over, we'll send the account book to Grandpa Bai. He'll naturally know what to do. According to my analysis, the biggest possibility is that they'll come and ask us what we want. We can't count on money. When the time comes, it'll be easy to handle." Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to be so proactive. At this time, it wasn't as simple as a confrontation with a local official. None of the people in the imperial court were easy to deal with. It wasn't just a matter of economics anymore. It involved political exchanges. Political exchanges required wisdom. Unless there was a real falling out, whoever exposed their intentions first would be unlucky. The so-called exchange was carried out when both parties thought that they had taken advantage of the other party and made a compromise. The simplest explanation was that the other party had achieved their goals, but they were still pretending to be innocent after taking advantage of the other party. If the bear understood politics, it would want to eat honey in the monkey's territory, but let the monkey bring it up himself. It would also say that there were too many bees and that it needed to be compensated. The moment it ate the sweet honey, it would make the monkey feel that it had gained an advantage. Wang Wan nodded to show that she understood. She was even more puzzled. "Then what do you say?" "Say that you want all the management rights of the Tea-Horse Path," Zhang Xiaobao replied. "Impossible, unless you think that the people in the imperial court are all fools." Wang Wan didn't have any hope in this. Zhang Xiaobao looked upstream and said, "I also know that it's impossible. In psychology, this is called an inch when given an inch. Sometimes, it's better to use this method. In layman's terms, it can be said that we're asking for sky-high prices and waiting for them to sit on the ground and pay us back. As long as they refuse, we'll ask for a good place. The area has to be large. If it's not a good place, then the area has to be larger. If it's a place that's too difficult, then it's also fine. However, we need to waive 10 years of taxes and rent. Where do you think that guy Li Longji will arrange for the place? He'll arrange for it to be in Inner Mongolia or the northeast. Lingnan definitely won't let us go. Then how can you guarantee that you'll get the grassland?" Wang Wan immediately understood. Even if it was her, she would also arrange for it. Wasn't the Zhang family very powerful? Then let's see how powerful they are. If you want the land, then I'll give it to you. In any case, no one is willing to go to a bad place. If I give it to you, then I'll make it difficult for you. Zhang Xiaobao also thought the same. In fact, it wasn't referring to Li Longji. Many people wanted to see the Zhang family make a fool of themselves in business. This was a common flaw in human nature. It wasn't that they had to do anything to the Zhang family, but they subconsciously wanted to suppress the Zhang family. Otherwise, wouldn't the Zhang family become a legend? Wouldn't it be difficult for you? After hearing Wang Wan's question, Zhang Xiaobao said, "When it's about time, I'll give others instructions. For example, I'll vigorously develop hot pot and say that this method is very good in the northeast. At the same time, I'll use glass to make greenhouses to increase the output of vegetables in the off-season. I'll buy a lot of furs and use them to make beautiful winter warm clothes for our clothing store. I'll build ships at the estuary of the Yellow River and go to Liaodong Bay to hire local fishermen to understand the marine environment there. I'll also send people to open a new restaurant between the clouds and the water there. What do you think I'm going to do? What else can you do? Of course, you're going to wait until there's land there to develop. You're too evil, Xiao Bao. I know you're doing this on purpose. You're letting people watch, but you don't want the land there. The only place left is Inner Mongolia. Are you trying to deceive us? Wang Wan knew Zhang Xiaobao's character. Since he wanted to get a piece of land in Inner Mongolia, he would definitely fill in the details and lead others step by step to get the land there. Although there were times when he failed, it also depended on whether Zhang Xiaobao was persistent. If he insisted, he would find a way to achieve his goal. Zhang Xiaobao had been thinking about this matter along the way. In an era of power, unless one was prepared to be the emperor and overthrow the original regime, it was impossible to face it head-on. However, it was not so easy to be the emperor, especially for someone like himself. After becoming the emperor, he would definitely do his best to do everything well. That would be exhausting. More importantly, it was very difficult to overthrow the current regime. Even if one spent more than a decade to prepare, they would first have to go to a remote place to be the regional historian. Otherwise, they would not be able to get soldiers and would have to learn from An Lushan. After that, they would have to launch a coup, and the consequences would be even more severe than the An Lushan rebellion. They would weaken the Great Tang's strength and give the surrounding countries a chance to see whether they would settle their internal affairs first or the other countries would make a move first. Even if they won in the end, they would be old. They might be in their 40s or 50s, and they would not be able to enjoy anything. In terms of enjoyment, it would be the excitement of war. However, there was no regional historian now. It was better to play games and enjoy life. Sometimes, it was more comfortable to influence an era in the dark than to stand on the stage personally. What are you thinking about? Get on the boat. The boat is here. Wang Wan waited until the boat arrived. Zhang Xiaobao still had a contemplative look on his face. She nudged him and stepped forward. Nothing much. I'll immediately send a letter back. Some things have to be planned in advance. Write a letter to Grandpa Bai and ask him to help find people who are not afraid of the cold while skiing in the mountains. At the same time, help train the guards who will be joining my family to resist the cold. At the same time, get the people in charge of business in my family to purchase aged black tea. Get the cloth merchants in the capital to send silk here. Get Grandpa Yao to take the lead and get in touch with the local officials close to the tea horse path. Hire a team that frequently walks the tea horse path at a high price. That's all. I'll add more when I think of something in the future. Zhang Xiaobao came back to his senses and immediately got on the boat to write the letter. Chapter 609. The water flowed, and it was never too late to be happy. They cooked cows and sheep, drank wine, and exchanged cups. Zhang Zhong really brought his family to the village. The three old men also wanted to see how life there was, so they followed along. When they arrived, the three old men found that it was not easy to come to a conclusion. If they said that the locals were not living well, all of them seemed to be very happy, and there was no sign of worry in their eyes. If they said that they were living well, all of their clothes were made of linen, and even the chief was the same. His face was obviously pale, and the little boy did not wear clothes, running around the mountain with his thighs exposed. This is the relationship between spiritual civilization and material civilization that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo often talk about. It would be good if we could let them obtain more material income without destroying their unity and upward spirit. Old Man Pai was now like a theorist who specialized in this field, and said to Old Man Yao and Old Man Chong beside him. Old Man Yao was also used to this kind of talk. Anyone could say it, and it was the kind that kept saying it. However, the most difficult thing was how to increase the income of the local people. The outspoken old man Chong asked for Old Man Yao's opinion. Yongqing, what do you think we should do to increase the income of the local people? When Zhang Zhong heard Old Man Chong ask him, he was just about to say his idea, but after thinking for a while, he asked, I wonder if Uncle Zhang has a good idea? As he spoke, Zhang Zhong glanced at Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, which meant that they had thought of a way. Old Man Zhang shook his head at the same time. If they had a way, they would have said it long ago. The food produced in this place was enough for them to eat. Now that they were close to the prefectural city, it was more convenient to go outside. There was also the village that was far away. Only the wild animals on the mountain could be sold for some money. There were many fruits, but no one wanted them. Using the method in Shuzhou to raise them? What could be raised on the mountain? This place seemed to be a place where people could ski, so that the commoners could earn a little money. However, not every mountain could ski. Seeing that the three old men couldn't answer, Zhang Zhong stopped talking about this topic. He pointed to the trees on the mountain and said, There are many trees here. Even if it is cold in winter, there is no lack of coal. Yes, cut them all down and make terraced fields. Old Man Chong thought Zhang Zhong was reminding them of the idea of harvesting the trees, so he immediately followed suit. Uncle Zhang, there are already enough mudslides here. Let's stop tormenting people. What I mean is to choose a mountain that won't affect the roads and people. We can cut down and plant on it. The skiers need to keep warm when they come here, so we can earn some money. This won't solve the fundamental problem. When Zhang Zhong heard Old Man Chang's words, he was shocked. If they really did that, the commoners here would be finished. Although they didn't deliberately protect the environment, they couldn't deliberately destroy it. They could make use of it, but they couldn't risk their lives and not care about the survival of the future generations and destroy all the resources. Now Old Man Chong understood that they were talking about the matter of skiing, not the way to make the commoners really rich. The four of them talked and watched. The Jiang Wang clan brought the 7 little ones and chatted with the 3 wives of the local clan leader with the help of the translator. Zhang Zhong wasn't afraid that his wife would say something wrong. Even if he said something wrong, his wife wouldn't do it. Even if the Jiang Wang clan didn't wear the title of nobility, she still looked dignified and amiable, which made the 3 wives of the clan leader feel very comfortable. Especially the 7 little ones' cute appearance, they immediately conquered everyone. Even the clan leader, who accompanied them, wanted to snatch one back and raise it himself. It would be even better if he could snatch 2. The few of them talked and laughed as they entered the hall in the stronghold. This was the center of the entire stronghold. It was made of stone, and the walls outside the stronghold were built with a mixture of stone and wood. The clan leader, Chong Hu, was very enthusiastic. He didn't care if it was time for dinner. As soon as they arrived, he began to prepare. The cows used for farming were killed, the sheep were killed, and all kinds of animals hunted in the mountains were killed. There was no need for other methods. In fact, they didn't have many cooking methods. They just took out the meat and roasted it. It was lively and convenient at the same time. Old Man Pai and the other 2 saw that the cows were killed and felt distressed. They glanced at Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong seemed to be indifferent. It was as if the cows were no different from pigs. While roasting the meat, the people in the stronghold danced and sang with Zhang Zhong and the Wang clan. Wang Wan's father finally played a role at this time. Although he usually didn't care about anything, he had a high tolerance for alcohol. He was the kind of person who drank until the cup was empty. He helped Zhang Zhong drink a lot of alcohol. Zhang Zhong didn't drink much usually. He was always drunk, so he usually drank some medicinal wine and wine. Even if he was socializing with others, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't allow him to drink too much. The medicine and soup for hangovers were all prepared. Before coming this time, Zhang Zhong and the Wang clan had prepared. They specifically drank the diuretic medicine prescribed by the doctor. At the same time, they also made a medicine that simulated the absorption of alcohol into the blood. This allowed the alcohol to be excreted through the urine as much as possible. The people in the inner courtyard of Zhang Zhong and the Wang clan were specially used to compete with others in drinking. They tried to eat as little as possible. That would fill their stomachs and make it difficult for the alcohol to be excreted. After mixing with food, more alcohol would enter the bloodstream. Chief Chong, who drank a little too much. When he wasn't drunk, he also spoke a lot. He hugged Zhang Zhong, who was also full of smiles, and said, "Brother Zhang, good official. I've never seen an official like you, especially one from your family. You can sing and dance. Don't worry, I'll pay the rent this year and also the tribute. Even if the other strongholds don't take it, I'll gather enough money for you to send to the capital. Then I'll have to thank Brother Chong Hu. Brother Chong Hu's wine is also good. Come, let's drink." Zhang Zhong didn't care about the rent or the tribute. He just didn't want to send the wine to the capital. Who could do anything to him? This place wasn't like Xuzhou, where the annual rent was not high and the tribute was high. The rent from Yizhou was paid by the province. If he refused to pay the tribute, who would dare to impeach him? The rent was not even enough to cover the salaries of the two families. Wang Wan's father, who had a mission, also came over. He threw away the cup in his hand and said under the puzzled gazes of others, "It's not enough. Change bowls and drink." Chong Hu also knew who this was. He was a rank 3 official. Seeing that the official was so bold, he also changed bowls. The other people who were drinking also changed their cups. Only Old Man Pai and the other two didn't move. They still couldn't tell what was good about the wine. Seeing Zhang Zhong praise it without blushing, the 3 old men were really helpless. If the wine was good, then what was the wine made by the Zhong family? When did the people who opened the restaurant learn to lie with their eyes wide open? As they drank, a problem appeared. The meat was mostly eaten by the people in the stronghold. The people of the Zhong family and the Wang family rarely touched it, but they drank a lot of wine. How much wine could there be in a small stronghold? Wine was made with grain. After Zhang Zhong drank another bowl of wine, the people in the stronghold found Chong Hu and whispered that there was no wine left. This time, Chong Hu was dumbfounded. He was drinking to his heart's content, but the wine was gone. This was embarrassing. Could he tell the guests to stop drinking and drink all the wine? Just as Chong Hu was in a dilemma, Wang Wan's father spoke. He said to Zhang Zhong, "In-law, I remember that we also brought a lot of wine when we came. Don't drink the same kind all the time. Let's change." Yes, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Indeed, Brother Chong Hu, why don't you try the wine I brought? Zhang Zhong had been waiting for this opportunity. He was really afraid that they wouldn't be able to finish the wine in the stronghold, so he used a negotiating tone when he asked. After all, it wasn't good to take the wine when someone was treating you to a meal. Chong Hu couldn't care less about anything else. All the wine in the stronghold had been drunk. Since Zhang Zhong brought the wine over, he might as well drink it. He happily agreed and ordered someone to follow him to get more wine. When the wine was changed, the 3 old men who had been drinking quietly poured out the wine in their cups. They held their cups in their hands and waited for someone to pour the wine brought by Zhang Zhong. Only after drinking the wine made by the Zhong family did they know what wine was. They thought that Zhang Zhong wouldn't send bad wine to the stronghold. Besides, the Zhong family didn't have any bad wine either. As soon as the people in the stronghold drank the new wine, they all became excited. It was good wine, and it wasn't brewed with grains. When they drank it, it was quite strong. There were all kinds of fruit flavors. Even the children drank a few mouthfuls and clamored to drink more. Chong Hu drank a bowl of wine and smacked his lips. He looked at Zhang Zhong in confusion and asked, "Brother Zhang, where did your wine come from? Why does it taste better than mine?" Zhang Zhong thought to himself, "Isn't this nonsense? If my wine can't catch up with your strongholds, why would I open a restaurant? The most important thing is that you don't have a good son and a good daughter-in-law." Brother Chong Hu, to tell you the truth, there are countless restaurants in my family. There are people who specialize in wine making in each place. They make wine according to the local conditions. This time, when I came to Yizhou, I also planned to find a place to specialize in winemaking. It should be in Mengdao County. I want to make wine with strong flavor, not soy flavor. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. You just need to know that I want to build a winemaking place here. The wine you drink is made with fruits from Suzhou. There are wild fruits all over the mountains and plains there. No one wants them at all. In Haitian, no one wants them, but I want them. I make them into fruit wine. After fermentation, I add some white wine during the second fermentation process. See, the taste has changed. It tastes good and has a bit of aftertaste. When you drink it, it lingers in your mouth. After drinking it, you feel dizzy and comfortable. I originally planned to sell it in the restaurant, but unfortunately, before I could brew some, I came here and couldn't sell it. The main thing is that there are many people there who can help pick the fruits. There are also many fruits. It's a pity that a wine that can make you rich doesn't have the benefits here. Zhang Zhong seemed to have drunk too much. He squinted his eyes and complained to Chong Hu. Chong Hu was also confused, but he understood. When he heard Zhang Zhong's words, he had an idea and said, "Brother Zhang, there are many fruits here. And the Haitian you mentioned, is it this thing?" Seeing the residue left in the wine for some reason, Chong Hu wandered to the side of the wall and found several black fruits the size of soybeans. He brought them to Zhang Zhong. "Yes, this is it. It can also cure diseases. Are there many fruits here?" Zhang Zhong took one, threw it into his mouth, and swallowed it. "Many, many, many, the whole mountain is full of them. No one eats them, and people don't want them when you ship them to the outside. There is no need to be afraid of few people. Everyone, adults and children, will do it. Since you have nothing to do, you can take out and sell the good wine and let others taste the wine here." Chong Hu was simple and didn't know what Zhang Zhong was thinking. He felt that he had a good relationship with Zhang Zhong, so he wanted to help. Old Man Yao and the other two listened at the side. At this time, they finally knew what Zhang Zhong wanted to do. Instead of ordering others to do something, it was better to let others find it themselves. This move was really silent. No wonder he insisted on holding a banquet and a ball at the foot of the mountain. It turned out that he wanted to drink the wine of others and take out his wine to seduce others. Good ability, they couldn't help but be impressed. If all the local officials can be like this, why worry that the people of Tang can't live a good life? Yongqing is usually listless and afraid of his wife, but now he is quite pleasing to the eye. Old Man Chong whispered to Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. He felt that the wine in his mouth tasted better than before. Good wine. Many of the wild fruits here in the mountain have turned into wine, which is valuable. The first method is to build a ski resort. The second method is to make wine. Let's see what other methods there are. Old Man Yao was also in a good mood. Being able to see the local people living a good life was sweeter than eating honey. Old Man Pai was also very emotional. Seeking merit, not publicity. The Zhang family's way of doing things is still so unpredictable. Perhaps in the future, the people here will understand Zhang Zhong's good intentions. Zhang Zhong had already started to discuss cooperation with Chong Hu. Zhang Zhong began to propose to help the stronghold make wine and sell it for free. Chong Hu didn't agree. He wanted to help Zhang Zhong pick fruits for free. As for selling them or not, it didn't matter. Neither of them gave in. In the end, Wang Wan's father came up with an idea so that neither side would lose out. This year, they would let people pick fruits and the Zhang family would buy them to make wine. They would make wine in the city and let the people in the stronghold learn. Next year, Zhang Zhong would no longer buy fruits. He would buy wine, do the second fermentation himself, and sell it in the restaurant. This way, no one would lose out, and no one would take advantage of the other. Zhang Zhong, who was in a daze, and Chong Hu, who was in a daze, agreed happily. The matter was settled in this way. After that, it was time to drink and celebrate. Zhang Zhong also sent a lot of spices to the stronghold to test on the barbecued meat. The taste was really good. The Zhang family will lose out this time. The wine will be sold immediately after the fruits are put away. The Zhang family needs to put in money first to give the locals a chance to make money in advance. The first fermentation will take at least 3 months to make wine, and the second fermentation will also take about 5 months to make wine. When did the Zhang family pick fruits and make wine in Suzhou with the locals? There don't seem to be many wild fruits there, and there's not enough time. As Old Man Pai spoke, he suddenly thought of this very important question. Old Man Chong explained, "Those are Lu Zhou's fruits. They've been there for 2 years. Of course, the taste is good. It's impossible to achieve this taste in 8 months. If the taste is not good enough, Chong Hu will think it's not easy to sell. How can he agree? I think it will take at least 2 years for the Zhang family to turn the fruits in Yizhou into wine before they can make money." What's this called? Yes, holding the goods. The Zhang family usually likes to use the quasi-cash flow method when doing business. That is, they try to transfer as much money as possible. When doing business, they always put in a small part of their money and let the local merchants cooperate. If it weren't for the sake of the local people, they wouldn't be willing to put money here. That's right. I heard Xiao Bao and Cuckoo occasionally mention that there's a method called cash flow to make money. Something like borrowing, splitting, and mortgaging should be more profitable. However, Cuckoo doesn't seem to agree, and Xiao Bao also said so. I really don't know what kind of method it is. Why don't they use it? Old Man Pai also knew some things. He didn't know that this kind of business model would cause financial turmoil, especially when Zhang Xiaobao was operating it. In this era, if Zhang Xiaobao wanted to, he could mess up the entire financial system of Tang. The financial system was already unstable, especially when it came to currency exchange. Chong Hu didn't know what this brother of his planned, and he didn't know the specific situation of the Zhang family. He didn't even know where Suzhou was. He only knew that this official was good, and Zhang Zhong's little guys were fun to play with. It was a pity that he couldn't snatch them. Looking at the 7 little guys and then looking at his own children, the difference was like heaven and earth. Even if they changed into the same beautiful clothes, it still wouldn't work. Brother Zhang, how did you raise your children? I wish I could take a pair of them and put them at home. They sit there like little adults. When other people go over to talk to them, they always welcome them with a smile. My family's children are far worse. They are not big, but their tempers are not small. Chong Hu pulled Zhang Zhong and asked with jealousy. Zhang Zhong thought to himself, of course. Look at who's teaching them. You haven't seen Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Otherwise, wouldn't you be jealous to death? How can the methods of immortals be compared to mortals? Sigh. He didn't know if his son and daughter-in-law had suffered along the way. When this matter was over, he would really have to become an official in Luoyang or Beijing. He didn't want his 2 children to run around and suffer along with him. Sighing softly, Zhang Zhong put on a smile and said, Brother Chong Hu, this isn't easy. Send your children to my place and see if they can play with Xiao Bei and the others. It'll be fine if they stay with me for a while. It's not easy to control my 2 children. If I'm not careful, they'll run away. They won't listen to me no matter how I beat them. If I leave them with you, won't they cause trouble for you? Chong Hu was really tempted. Not to mention whether he could learn to be as sensible as the other children. Even the food and drink at the foot of the mountain was better than on the mountain. However, he heard that when Zhang Zhong came, the 7 children had their own big houses, the kind with wheels below, and there were specialized doctors to take care of them. If he really sent them down, they wouldn't have to worry about getting sick. They could eat well and play well. They could even learn how to read and write with other children. Look at other children. They could actually use a branch to write their names on the ground. If they learned it, when they met people from other strongholds in the future, they could squat there and write their names. That would be so embarrassing. Now, he could only be envious of other children. When Zhang Zhong saw that Chong Hu's words had some meaning, he immediately said, Don't worry. Children run around looking for things to play with. I have a lot of toys. As long as there are children to play with, they'll be safe. This matter is settled. We'll take them back at night. The more the merrier. This time, Chong, who didn't insist and happily agreed. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "Brother Zhang, how about this? I'll look for people from other strongholds to pick fruits together so that your family can brew more wine." "Really? Then Brother Chong, who has helped me a lot. Drink." Zhang Zhong was completely relieved. He raised the bowl and drank it all. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.